And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into the sports bar on 95.7 FM, AM 950. Thanks for listening to the Fan Rochester and the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps, or watching the sports bar, our live video stream up on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at the Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you are there. I am Danger. That's Battaglia.
There's got to be a term in management for when you default to comfort. What I'm trying to figure this out. I'm using AI right now.
The path of least resistance.
I guess that would apply.
It is the path of least resistance. You think, okay, you could equate it to marriage, meaning, you know, you're young and you're dating and you have a certain thought in your mind of what the perfect mate, the perfect person is that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. This might be a little bit of a jaded comparison, by the way, but eventually you start to knock apart your checklist. I think women might do this more than guys do, to the point where you say, I've got this long list of qualities that I'm looking for in a partner. Mm-hmm. And eventually you just say, well, you know what? I just want somebody who has manners. If you have manners, sign here. I guess you'll do.
Or you're coming out of an abusive relationship or bad relationship or whatever it is. And all right, well, maybe I don't love this person, but you know what? My life is less complicated. This works for me. Great.
I guess you'll do.
I guess you do should not apply when you're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, I see.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like, the punchlines here, you can write them yourself, everyone. Sean McDermott needs a linebacker. Danger, you went a little too far back there, buddy, yesterday. You said A.J. Klein, but survey says
Balin Spector. Chris Brown breaking the news earlier on One Bills Live.
The Bills are signing linebacker Balin Spector to the practice squad. So Buffalo's 7th-round pick in 2022 sounds like he is going to be back on the roster, practice squad. As we know, he ended up being the odd man out due in large part to recurring calf injuries and missed some time in the preseason, and then ultimately, I believe if I remember right, was waived injured in August. I think I have that right.
Yeah, you have it right.
Healthy now. So that's where that is. Guy that knows the system.
Well,
Milano's injured. Dorian Williams injured. Jimmy Charlo has been brought up to the active roster, so you have an open practice squad spot. Looks like they're going to fill it with Balin Spector.
Right. Okay.
We'll see what happens. Staying healthy was the biggest impediment to him moving his career forward in the NFL, I think.
Yeah, it became a problem, and as we've seen, even with Milano, they'll hang in there with you for a long time if you can do it, but that's it. I mean, it's a tough thing to do.
But ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
I have breaking news in the sports bar. Balin Spector has pulled a hammy as he pulled into One Bills drive. He might be out 4 to 6 weeks.
I'm sorry, Steve, I don't know why Matt Milano ended up in that sentence with Balin Spector. Matt Milano is a former All-Pro who's at the end of his road. Balin Spector hasn't done S in this league. And when Bronny said, I think it was around camp, I know exactly when it was. It was the second last day in camp because we had Sean McDermott on. That was question number 1. We saw, they finally released him. He wasn't healthy in camp. So what are we doing? Why do you think this is going to be any better? This is what the question I would pose to anyone at 866-4FN. There are, let me count, 31 other practice squads in this league.
Yeah.
31! You mean to tell me there's not another linebacker, or we just have to know the guy who knows the system? He knows the system. It's going to be the death of this team. Taylor Rapp knows the system.
I'm not as upset about this as you are. You are triggered by this. We've been through this, though. Like, this is the way it's always been with Sean McDermott. You date it back to A.J. Klein or Josh Norman or who was the safety? DeMarlo, right? You had all these guys that were just in and out.
Countless guys. And the funny thing is, our friends Jeremy and Joe in Buffalo, they did a bit on this. They actually did a draft. Like, who are the Bills going to bring back? And like Jordan Poyer, sure enough.
There he is. Like, Jordan Poyer is back. He knows the system. He knows the system.
No one is putting up their hand saying, this is flawed. This is not the best guy. Because what? He'll come in and he won't make waves. He'll be on practice on time. We won't have to suspend him.
I think he's just a practice squad guy. I mean, I think he's just a body. I don't know that he's – look, I don't want to see Balen Spector out during the regular season. I don't want to see Jordan Poyer out during the regular season. If you want to develop somebody young, yes, then I would say go look at another team's practice squad, find a young linebacker that you might be high on or that you have a good report on, and bring them on. But then you're at the point of the season where development isn't really your number one focus. Winning football games is your number one focus. Now you develop guys in the offseason. You develop guys in the preseason when the games don't count. You know, Jimmy Charlo is a guy that you were able to develop during the preseason. Now he's somebody that can contribute on special teams when you need him to.
Danger. I like.
You're at a loss.
I'm at a loss here. I am just. That's enough. Enough.
It's comical.
Chris Trapasso keeps great track of all the practice squads, and the thing is, when you sign somebody from someone else's practice squad, they go to the 53. So what? I didn't see Jimmy Charlo making plays the other night. Keep Jimmy Charlo on the practice squad. You mean to tell me there's not another guy you could sign, or is that like signing someone to an offer sheet in the NHL? You can't do that. We don't want to start this in the NFL. Why? Like, go find somebody off of somebody else's practice squad and help yourself.
What if Balen Spector comes back? Because he's still young. What if he comes back?
I'm not going to do one of these hokey radio things. Then I'll walk to Buffalo or I'll eat something. No, I will gladly say, hey, I was dead wrong on that.
Yeah.
I was dead wrong, and I will apologize, and we'll move on.
Likely won't happen because every opportunity he's gotten hasn't been great, right? He has been special teams at best. When he's gotten opportunities to play on defense, it hasn't really worked out. He's got the size and some athleticism, but it's always been his health. It's always been the number one concern. Can he stay healthy? He hasn't been able to.
Here's my theory. Ready? Marv Levy hired Dick Duran. This is the analogy because reminded himself, just a soft-spoken, intellectual guy. Levy went to Harvard. Duran went to Yale. That is a flaw in management when I'm going to hire somebody that you inadvertently, you don't realize it, but you like them. They're the best candidate. So this is Sean McDermott viewing himself as the 1AA player and guys like Jimmy Charlo and Balen Spector. I'm going to give you everything I have.
Well, Spector was a Clemson guy, but I hear what you're saying. And this goes back to the culture versus talent debate that we had a little bit yesterday with Diggs coming back and rubbing our noses in it, right? Diggs is a really, really good player, the kind of player you have to game plan for, and if you don't, he'll catch 10 on you and they'll win the game. But he's also somebody that requires a little bit more management, a little bit more finesse, a little bit more time. You have to. He's high maintenance.
Here's how I would have managed. Ready, Stephon Diggs, and it's easy for me to say. That's the disclaimer. Okay, Sean McDermott's got a lot on his plate, but you cannot manage all 53 guys the same. You when you're doing the team introductions, be like, okay, these are our rules, and we really don't like it when players or whatever it is, and. But this is Mr. Diggs over here.
Diggs has a separate set of rules.
And he has his separate rules. So if you are as talented as Mr. Diggs, then you could have these rules. If you don't like it, you go talk to Mr. Diggs.
Perform at a high level and these rules apply to you. But does that just fractures a locker room, Gino? That sets a horrible tone for the culture in the locker room.
Would it? I don't know. Like the tone in that locker room last year with Diggs wasn't great because I think a lot of people might have been taking Diggs' side on a few things.
That's right. So who do you side with if you're Pagula and Bean? You're going to side with the head coach. We can replace the wide receiver, but we're not going to get a new head coach just because he and the wide receiver don't see eye to eye on things.
I think what we heard Sunday night, and it wasn't the time. It's past midnight. I went to that press conference, and we were going to talk to Matt Perino a little bit, and he was there too. I got to challenge Stephon Diggs and say, look, this is revisionist history. All the love and blah, blah, blah. There wasn't a sideline love job. I think that he and Josh certainly had some differences, and you and I have heard some stories, but that's two teammates and bygones be bygones. He didn't say nothing about McDermott. There's not
quick embrace pregame with McDermott. I think that there's a respect there, but I wouldn't even go as far as to say respect. It's a courtesy. I think there's a courtesy there between the two men. That Diggs. I mean, it felt like it fell apart with Diggs in Buffalo when McDermott lied about what Diggs was doing when he was at minicamp, but he was sent home from mandatory minicamp. That felt like the beginning of the end, and we all know how that season played out, and of course the subsequent trade at the end of the season during the offseason. I get the culture of the locker room and the importance of building a culture, but I also believe that really, really talented individuals are high maintenance. They require a different level of commitment. You have to really work for them as much as they work for you. And I've worked with people that are like this. I've worked and managed people that are like this. And it can go one of two ways. It can be great and you can ride into the sunset and have all kinds of success because you fight for each other, and it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be dysfunctional at times, and there's going to be arguing and pettiness, and you have to have thick skin, and all of that plays when you're working with a highly competitive, motivated, and talented individual like Diggs is. But if you want to just not upset the apple cart and just have a culture of your guys, that's fine too. You just might not have the same level of success.
I think we're still living in the year 2018, meaning for McDermott, all right, it's year number 2. We still need a lot of help talent-wise, but you know what? This is the one thing we can control, and we're going to bring in guys, and we're going to do it this way. It gets to a point where you're going to need a little bit of that other element. And when it comes to the trade, and we've seen this, Brandon Beane has acknowledged this, they attempted to trade for Antonio Brown. They did bring a guy in that I personally don't, it's my opinion, I don't think he's a good guy, in Von Miller.
Great.
They have done this.
Yeah.
So why can't we do this again? Why are we going the Balin Spector route? Why are we going the Jordan Phillips route? What, you mean to tell me there isn't somebody else? And maybe the answer is this is just short term. We're working on something else for the trade deadline. I'll suspend my judgment in that regard until November 4th.
Well, I think if you were to look at the the roster and say, where do they need help? Yeah, there's injuries at linebacker, but that's not, to me, the primary concern with this defense. I mean, Trey White is a concern.
Well, that fits into the same bucket. We love Trey. He's a great guy. He gives everything, blah, blah. Like, it's going to get any better with Trey White, but you don't have any other options. They brought him in to be corner 4. I think Strong would have been starting, this week or last week had it not been for the neck injury.
Interesting. So there you have it. Balin Spector back on the Bills practice squad. Gene is very triggered by it. I'm just kind of laughing it off because, of course, Balin Spector is back on the Bills practice squad. Maybe Micah Hyde can come out of retirement and help out the safeties with Poyer, and he can join the practice squad as well. Anybody else that might be out there that I'm forgetting?
Well, I go back to the thing with McDermott. It was you you made this decision to walk away in August. You didn't have to do that. You could have carried him on the 90-man roster, right? And then put him on IR or whatever it is. You made that decision back then, like, okay, that's enough. So this, to me, is getting back together with an ex. That's what this is.
It's an ex that had the opportunity to hook up with 31 other guys and couldn't do it.
That's an interesting way to play it.
Right. But, I mean, like 31 other teams could have invested in Bale Inspector, and none of them did. And, yeah, he's back in Buffalo. So, and who knows? Again, you mentioned it, but we don't know. There might be like some underlying code with teams where, you know, like they just know, like, that's our guy.
Well,
that's our guy. That's my guy. That's my guy. Nobody will ever admit to that. Nobody will ever admit to collusion. But there might be some of that going on.
I think we don't talk a lot of that about the NHL and offer sheets and everything else, but I do believe that's something that's slowing that sport down.
It's an under-the-table agreement. Like,
yeah, it's
you're
like
just not going to do it.
There's an honor code there, I suppose. Yeah,
yeah, and maybe that there's more of that going on than we know of in the NFL. Regardless, a little bit of depth now to the practice squad with a familiar name in Bale Inspector returning to the Buffalo Bills. We've got an unbelievable lineup of guests for you this afternoon here in the Sports Bar. We're going to work backwards to forwards here, Gino. So we're gonna close today's show during last call in the 5 o'clock hour. RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas making his inaugural visit into the Sports Bar.
Not true.
Oh, I was on vacation, wasn't I?
Well, you've been on vacation.
Maybe I was on assignment. I was on assignment.
So Matt Thomas, first time in season, as he did come in the studio, and we had a lot of fun. If you're not familiar with Matt Thomas, he's got energy. He's going to sell you over. Did you know RIT has a kid named Ben Roger, who was the second-round pick of the Ottawa Senators in 2021?
Okay.
This is the Owen Power draft. So Owen Power goes to Buffalo number 1 overall, and then when Ottawa had 3 second-round picks, they used one of them. He doesn't sign with them. He's at RIT now. Wait, what? Okay. All right. It's a new beginning at RIT. They open up against the regular season Sacred Heart Friday and Saturday. Matt Thomas joins us right at the end of the show, 5:45.
We'll talk some fantasy football before we get to happy hour. 4:45, we'll be joined by Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. We'll get your waiver wire in order here as you set your lineup for Week 6 in the NFL.
Oh, boy. This has been the year of the injury so far, right? Like now you have a Marion Hampton, so waiver wire, are there any goodies tonight? Because, look, if your team is scot-free in injury, good for you. But if you need a little help, you want to listen to Michael F. Florio. That's coming up at 4:45.
Mike Leone, Amerks head coach, making his first visit of the season into the Sports Bar.
Yeah, and he's coming in the studio. I think I kind of guilted him.
Oh.
This is what we kind of did last year.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mike Leone, he'll give takes on the Lions. I'm sure he'll have a take on the Tigers. You realize the Tigers-Mariners is going to be going on right at the same time. We're going to put that on. Oh, no. We can't put it on because we have poor people cable. That is
cable.
like, we are so cheap here at the Fan Rochester that we can't even afford FS1.
Oh, you're gonna get ESPN and you're gonna like it, Gene. That's it. That's all you're gonna get. We're not gonna go deep into the sports package, okay?
I can only imagine, like, all right, you know what? Well, you know, you're Mike Leone. Okay, I'm going to go over, do the interview with the guys. I'm just going to watch the Tigers and Mariners. No. Sorry, Coach. We don't have it.
That's great. Later on this hour, in fact, just a few minutes from now, we'll get Matt Perino in here. We'll talk more Buffalo Bills. He covers the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard. The Shout podcast as well.
Ooh, what is the story with Keon Coleman?
Yeah.
That. Oh, yeah. And Atlanta coming in. I'm going to say this right now. I'm not worried about this game.
Really? You think Atlanta's going to beat Buffalo that badly, huh?
No, it's like Atlanta, like someone explained to me how that team got shut out to Carolina.
I don't understand that. That one is puzzling. I just look at the talent, specifically a running back, and I think, oh boy, that could pose some issues.
I think it's going to be one of those games, Danger, though, that it'll pose issues between the 20s. Like, I just listening to Dan Orlovsky, the way that the Falcons have red zone issues on offense. Okay, you know what? If you're not getting sevens against Buffalo, you're going to lose.
This is a good matchup for Atlanta. Offensively, 6 first-round picks in their starting 11. So they're a very talented, a very young football team. This is a zone-centric run game, meaning they are trying to just run to areas. It's athletic. It's a big offensive line. And Bijan Robinson is as good as any back in the NFL, as talented as any back in the NFL.
The aforementioned Dan Orlovsky there on some of the issues that the Bills may face come Monday night.
That's all true. But I think the Bills will move the ball offensively.
That's a Jeff Ulbrich coordinated defense now in Atlanta. Yeah, went from the Jets to Atlanta. So we'll get Perino here in just a few. Also coming up in less than an hour. In fact, we'll do this right at 4 o'clock.
No, we don't have to. We'll take your calls at 4 o'clock at 866.
Because Gene fumbled the bag and went with Arizona as his survive and advance pick last week. And I went with Detroit. Don't worry, Gino. You pass the baton to me. I will give you your Week 6 winner in Survivor football so you can advance to Week 7 in your pool.
You said that's the wrong pick. You said Detroit is the pick, and now you carry the torch, and I want you to go far. It's a little humiliating for me, and it's humbling. I got to wait until September.
We're gonna go on this ride together, pal. It's okay. That was the first time all season that I disagreed with you. We went our own paths. One of us fell behind. I'll drag you with me, buddy. Come on.
All right, we're going.
Hit your wagon.
Like listen to Mike Danger.
We're gonna go.
4 o'clock.
I've got all the rules. We're gonna make an educated pick, and we're gonna give you a winner for Week 6 in the NFL for your Survive and Advance pool. That's coming up here right around 4 o'clock. First, let's get to Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills with the Syracuse Post-Standard, licking their wounds after losing to New England on Sunday night. What happened with Keon Coleman? What about Bale Inspector signing with the practice squad? We'll get into that and more with Matt Perino next on The Fan Rochester.
update.
A rare trade in the NFL between divisional opponents today, the Bengals and Browns. Joe Flacco gets dealt to Cincinnati from the Browns. This for a pick swap in exchange of 5th and 6th rounders. The Bills are bringing back linebacker Balin Spector to the practice squad. Buffalo back at practice coming up Thursday with the next game on Monday night. Meanwhile, in baseball, Aaron Boone has faith in tonight's starter, Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, a ton. He's been obviously one of our horses this year. He's had a great year, and anytime we give him the ball, we feel like we have an excellent chance to win, and that'll be the same today. He'll be ready to roll and hopefully get us off to a good start.
Yankees and Jays at 8:08. Toronto can advance with a win, up 2-0. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour today, Detroit and Seattle. That series is tied at 1. NHL season begins tonight. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, let's check in with Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast. The Bills dropped their first of the season on Sunday night to the New England Patriots. We've got a little bit of drama. We've got a new player that's an old player returning to the team. Plenty to talk about with Perino. Can we start, Matt, with the news of Keon Coleman and his benching for that first series? I don't know that a lot of people picked up on that early in the game, but when McDermott was asked about it yesterday, what was his response and what did we gather happened there with McDermott and with Keon Coleman, who eventually scored a touchdown for the Bills on Sunday night?
Yeah, he wouldn't go too much further than saying it was a coach's decision, a coach's disciplinary decision. And, he mentioned how they're looking for continued growth and maturity from him. This is a guy that was at 21 years old last year, suspended for a game or for the first 2 series of a game last year against Jacksonville, who he ended up scoring a touchdown in that game as well. Just an ultra young player, like at 22 years old. I think still trying to figure out how to build consistency in the NFL just from a playing perspective, and then you throw in the responsibilities of it all. And then Brady had an interesting quote where, like, we need him to be, consistency looks like being there for your teammates and doing your 111. So, you could probably kind of read between the lines there a little bit, but this is a guy that if we're looking at this wide receiver room, he leads the team in targets tied with Khalil Shakir. He is the player on the roster that the Bills use the most draft capital on, or the highest draft asset on amongst this group. And I think the expectations are elevated in year 2. And, he had a really good game against Baltimore. And since then, it's kind of been, even this past game, it was up and down in that game. You had the touchdown, but you also had a drop at one point and the fumble. So this is a guy that you look across at the Chiefs, and I know that they got their own issues. They're sitting there at 2-3, but the way that Xavier Worthy came in last week and energized that team, we just haven't really seen that too much from Keon Coleman here through a season and a quarter.
Yeah, and look, I can't even put him in the same sentence with Diggs. To me, Matt, the top storyline from that game, people around the country were, as they probably should, hey, Drake may not be okay. But to me, your lead story was Diggs. It was Diggs going back. That was a vintage Diggs performance. And that if you apply this to Buffalo, we haven't seen that sort of separation when you bring it back home. Like, is there a solution, do you think, for Buffalo? Is that something this Bills offense needs, a receiver that can kind of separate that? We know why Diggs ended. I'm not going to go revisionist history here like Diggs might have at the end. I think it was a divorce that needed to happen. But your thoughts on what the Bills do moving forward in terms of developing that next wide receiver? Because I don't think Coleman is that sort of guy.
No, and honestly, the bigger storyline to me about Diggs' ability to quote-unquote separate was the inability for the Bills to cover him. Like, the secondary performance in that game from 1 to 5, Taron Johnson, Benford, Trey White, Rapp, and Bishop, I mean, it was about as bad as you get. And I like what you just said there about Drake May. Drake May is a good young player, and I think has a chance to be an excellent quarterback in this league. But at times it just felt from a coverage perspective, he had way too many easy open windows, and, guys were running free. Diggs more than anybody else. I mean, this is a guy that, to be able to put out that kind of performance coming off of a torn ACL less than a year ago, I think it brings up great concerns. And sure, do you want receivers to separate in the Bills' offense a little bit more? Yeah, but through 5 games, they're the best running team in the NFL. I know they couldn't run against the Patriots. That's a good run defense. And Dalton Kincaid was a similar story in that game because of how good he was. The best game I think maybe he's had in a Bills uniform. And I almost wonder if in a game like that, when you have your first-round draft pick cooking the way that he was, like, it's got to be a bigger part of this offensive philosophy, is that sometimes you got to ride the hot hand. They do it pretty well in the run game. When James Cook is going, as we've seen over the course of the last 2 seasons, they tend to really go with that player. But in the passing game, I know the mantra is everybody eats, but I saw a great tweet from a Bills fan, and sometimes it feels like everybody nibbles. And I think that, like, sometime you got to give Chris Rock had this great bit back in the day, one of his early specials, and he would talk about dad coming home from work, and, like, mom would get so mad if anybody ate the big piece of chicken. And, they save that for dad. Like, sometimes when you got a guy going, whether it's Coleman, whether it's Kincaid, whether it might be eventually Palmer, Shakir, give them the big piece of chicken. Let them eat a little bit. And I just think they could have maybe doubled the target share for Kincaid in that game because of how effective he was.
Do they have a separation problem? What did Joe Brady have to say about that? And I wonder, are we only talking about this because we saw the separation that Diggs got from the Bills secondary?
I mean, the separation problem isn't new. I've been asking Joe Brady about this for 2 seasons, and he doesn't seem to think that it's an issue because he thinks that it's a misnomer, that the online conversation around separation to begin with. His stance is there's not a lot of players in the NFL that consistently get away from coverage, in man coverage, to get away and get the kind of separation that people are looking for. But, I mean, I think if you do look around the league, there are teams that have it, and the Bills haven't really prioritized that skill set, if you will, with the receivers that they've brought in over the last couple of years. And the other thing that I think people tend to push back on the way that room's been built, you have this odd plan this season with the way they've utilized what is, I don't know, somewhere around $23 million in cap space for these 3 receivers, and Palmer, Moore, and Samuel. Palmer's makes that big play in the opener, but his usage rate is in the basement. And then you have the Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel back and forth. I think Samuel's probably the better player when healthy, and probably maybe should have been playing at the beginning, but Moore was available throughout the summer. It just doesn't feel like, from an identity perspective, these guys fit into any kind of role. It's just kind of like get in where you fit in, as opposed to saying, this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. And even Keon Coleman, to a degree, it's felt like at times when he started to, his usage rate has gone up in games, it's almost been like a force feeding of sorts, which I don't feel like they ever do with Kincaid, who might be the most talented of all their pass catchers.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, Shout Podcast. One more for me on the game, because McDermott, after the game, used the phrase "too cute" at times. He's referring to the offense, right? Like, could we see some less trick plays? Because I have no idea what that play was meant to do. A handoff there, perhaps, to Dawson Knox.
Listen, if you have the expectation that the coaches are ever going to throw players under the bus or a play under the bus, they're not. So I wasn't surprised with how Joe Brady answered when asked about McDermott's comments about how the offense was cute. But, like, for me, I don't have a problem with throwing a flea flicker in there. I don't even have a problem with getting a tight end jet sweep if you want to throw that into the mix. But I think that the game scenario has to come into play when you're dialing up some of these plays. You come out and the score is 0-0. You're moving the ball in that first drive, and you dial that up when, I don't know, maybe you practiced it all week and it was doing well in practice. But I've not seen that since the Bills rolled the balls out at training camp. I've never seen a handoff to Dawson Knox, right. And that's when we were allowed to watch all of practice. So to me, to bring that out in a divisional game, I just think that there's so many more ways that you can unleash some trickeration, if you will, than that. And, Joe Brady says he doesn't look at that as a gadget play. They look at that as getting the ball in Dawson Knox's hand on like a zone run. That is a good play in their book, something that's part of their offense. I don't know. We don't see that a whole lot. And to be honest with you, Dawson Knox's ball security is something that I am not overly confident in if I'm Joe Brady and Sean McDermott, just from his hands over the years haven't been the most reliable. And so I don't know. I get trying new things, and I've actually been critical that they've been a little bit too much of going with what's got you to the dance and something that they spam a lot of plays when things are going well, and I've been a little bit critical of that. But when you're going to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, it's got to be something that makes sense, I think.
Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard of the Shout podcast, our guest now talking Buffalo Bills in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Matt, with Diggs having the performance that he had on Sunday night, it kind of re-sparked the debate of talent versus culture. We know what a premium McDermott puts on his locker room and making sure he's got the right guys in there to build the right kind of culture, and that sometimes a talented guy can come in there and upset that culture because they might be a little bit more high maintenance. And I only bring it up because today it feels like another path of least resistance move by Sean McDermott. Gene is a lot more triggered by this than I am, but Balin Spector back on the practice squad.
I feel like I'm triggered because when there wasn't anything from camp and the Bills, August 8th, just kind of moved on. You mean to tell me there isn't anybody else on another practice squad that could help this team on the 53 right now in that regard? So I just think this team has a flaw, Matt, that they kind of overvalue, finger quote, their guys as compared to some others in the league. Matt, now that I've laid it out, what is your opinion on this?
I agree. I do think that they overvalue their own guys, and they overvalue the need to know the system and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you got to get guys out there that can make plays. And I think Rasul Douglas's first few games with the Bills after they traded for him, and then after that season when he came out and said he barely knew the playbook, he was just going out there and trying to flow with it and try to make plays. Like, you got to find talented players at some point. And to me, the biggest indictment of Sean McDermott or Bobby Babich will be when you have all of these guys that you're so familiar with and your defense is still struggling. So what good is that when you're bringing guys in that know the system and you still aren't finding the kind of answers? I think Tre'Davious White is the latest example of that, as a guy that, just going off of the last game, that was a really bad performance. And I mean, Benford wasn't much better, and maybe they were both equally bad in that game. But with White, this always seemed to be the potential outcome of if he was needed to play, because of how bad it's been when he's been on the field the last couple of seasons. If you go back to after the first injury and that short stint before he re-injured his I think it was the Achilles was the second one, he wasn't really playing well then. I mean, you really got to go back to 2019, 2020 to find even close to the all-pro caliber player that he was. And I just wonder, had they gone out and spent a similar amount of money on a free agent to bring them in, if it wouldn't be, I don't want to say the same, but maybe potentially a little bit more upside there. And now you're in a spot where the two guys that you brought in, Dane Jackson isn't even good enough to get on the active roster. And then Trey White is a guy that you're throwing out there who you still weren't 100% confident in because you were throwing the rookie Dorian Strong out there for a few series last week before he sustained the neck injury. And Jamarcus Ingram, I'm a fan of his. I think he's a solid player. But if we're talking about like an answer at that spot, it's not a great answer. And, the worst case scenario happened. You spend a first-round draft pick on a player and he gets hurt in training camp, and that really puts you in a spot to try to figure out answers. And it looked like Strong after that first week was somebody like, hey, you might have something here. And the Bills pivoted right away to go back to Trey White. So I don't know. The cornerback situation is rough. The linebacker situation is rough. I have huge questions about the safeties, and we talked about it last week. The bigger question at this point for me is Taylor Rapp, which I never thought we'd get here. I mean, the online discourse around Rapp right now is, would the Bills be better off with DeMar Hamlin back there? And I felt like the discourse around him last year was that there's no way you can keep DeMar Hamlin on the field. So they have a lot of really bad situations right now on this defense, and they're hoping the two guys that are going to get back, and Hoyt and Ogunjobi, and Oliver when he's healthy, is going to fix a lot of these things. And I think you can fix a lot of things if your front is working. One more thing. I know I'm on a little bit of a rant here, but I was looking into A.J. Epinesa today. I was just kind of looking into the Falcons and some of their defensive linemen to kind of get a sense of that matchup. And I was surprised to see that right now in the NFL, the only defensive lineman, D tackle or DN, that has a higher pressure rate in the NFL than A.J. Epinesa is Will Anderson in Houston. So when he's on the field, in terms of getting pressure, Epinesa is amongst the elite in the NFL. But the Bills are playing at the lowest snap count that he's played in since the 2022 season, which is puzzling because wasn't the big storyline going into the year was keep Joey Bosa on a pitch count. But they have him out there at almost 75% of the snaps this season when A.J. Epinesa is producing when he's out there. So a lot of head-scratching maneuvers with the defense, but they are still sitting here at 4-1. I think there's been a little bit of overreaction over the last couple of days. You look around the AFC, the Ravens are absolutely flatlining. The Chiefs now are sitting there at 2-3. All of the big contenders that were supposed to be here in the AFC are going through their own struggles. And I think the Bills have a chance this week to get back right, and we probably will downplay a lot of the things we're talking about Monday and Tuesday.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Bosa, though, because that's where I was going to go next, Matt. I feel like I've seen enough. I mean, they are playing him a lot. He's been out there, but he hasn't been a contributor. I mean, the Bills had 4 sacks on Sunday night. Bosa wasn't in on any of it, just getting 1 tackle for the night against the Patriots. What are you seeing in his game? Where are you at with Joey Bosa? And what you're laying out is that, yes, they absolutely should put A.J. Epinesa in more of an equal timeshare with Bosa.
Yeah, I definitely think that his snap count needs to come down, and Epinesa's got to play a little bit more, especially right now until Hoyt gets back. And then I think you can get really you could distribute the snaps really equally amongst all of them, and maybe even bring Landon Jackson up and have him play a few snaps. It wasn't great on Sunday, but that was his first NFL action. Bosa is, and I think a lot of it came from his performance in the Jets game, but he is still top 12 in the NFL in pressure rate as well. And so he's affecting the quarterback. I thought against the Patriots, that's probably the least I've noticed him this season. But I think if you're talking about a 5-game sample size, Bosa's given them what they paid him to bring. And without Hoyt, and like the Hoyt conversation is separate of that, of Bosa is interesting because it does feel like this guy's being set up to be this savior that I don't necessarily know that he is. What I think that Michael Hoyt is going to do for this defense is give them a guy that does so many things average to well that it's going to help a lot of the other guys around him. So dropping into coverage off the line, lining him up in multiple spots on the interior. And in a lot of ways, he reminds me of a potential impact player like Lorenzo Alexander was late in his career when they did so many different things to him. You remember that one season he put up double-digit sacks under Sean McDermott, and the Bills hadn't had a double-digit sack guy in a while. The Bills haven't had that in a long time. So I think if Hoyt can be this chess piece that opens things up, that allows you to do a little bit more and be a little bit more productive, especially in the middle intermediate area of the field, I've been really unimpressed with Terrell Bernard through 5 games. And I wonder if a guy like Hoyt coming back and the versatility that he brings is going to help that second level, because Shaq Thompson, a guy that nobody was talking about in July, has come in here and been the team's best linebacker through 5 games when he's been on the field. I would have never predicted that. This is a former borderline all-pro level player, but he's coming off of 2 really bad injuries. He is as pivotal a player on that defense right now as anybody because of the injuries that they've suffered with Williams and Milano.
For all the guys they took care of, and granted, it's a small sample size. Matt, I just find it, I don't know if ironic's the right word, but you took care of Rousseau and Benford, and certainly you just brought up Bernard and just Shakir in that. It's actually James Cook, where you're thinking, boy, where would the Bills be today without James Cook? When I'll ask you here about Ray Davis. Do the Bills have a Ray Davis problem right now?
I was way off on that, guys, and I got to, point the finger at myself. I mean, whatever's gone on with Ray Davis needs to be studied because, from conversations I had all off season, like the kind of belief in him inside the building led me to believe that maybe the Bills would consider not ponying up for James Cook. Now, there's context to this because what the ultimate contract that they handed out to Cook which is basically a 3-year, $30 million deal, if you go by the guaranteed money, comes in at a lot less than what I think he was asking for. Like at $15 million, I had significant concerns about that kind of allocation, salary cap money to a running back. Now, he's come out here through 5 games and put up the kind of performance that would make me probably at this point say I'd have paid him $15 million per season because of how important he is to their offense, what he does in the pass game as well, the steps he's taken as a blocker. But the disappearing act of Ray Davis is a problem because right now I almost feel like you're trying to shoehorn him into the offense and onto the field, and it minimizes the opportunities for Ty Johnson, who I think is an explosive player. We saw it all last season. When he was on the field and got chances, he made positive plays, explosive plays. Obviously, the Lions game was the best example of it, but he's a guy that sometimes you hand the ball on first down and you look up and they got another first down and he goes for 11 yards. He goes for 12 yards. Like he is always pushing forward. I feel like, whereas he's running north to south, you have Ray Davis, who seems like he's running up and down the line of scrimmage trying to find any kind of opening. Doesn't feel comfortable as a runner right now. And part of that is momentum. Joe Brady's talked about that. Like it's tough to build momentum for a running back that's getting 1 or 2 looks a game. But the problem is for the Bills, James Cook's been so good and he's taken such another step in his game. It's almost impossible to take him off the field.
What makes you nervous about Atlanta, Matt?
His name is Bijan Robinson, and I have him on my fantasy team in Dynasty. And by the way, I recently changed my Dynasty fantasy team to Infinity and Bijan, which I found that I was like, listen, you know me,
Infinity
big Disney
and
guy
Bijan.
here. Big Disney guy here.
Yeah.
So I think that was very fitting. But he's special, guys. I mean, I watch a lot of him because I have him in fantasy, and I went back and watched the Commanders game. And what he does in the passing game, I'd be worried if I'm Bobby Babich and Sean McDermott in this game, because that to me is where they struggle against the run, they struggle on third down, but at times they've been gouged by running backs in the passing game. And to me, that's an area of major concern, especially with Milano out, Bernard playing at the level that he's at, the safety help, the missed tackles. The Bills are number 1 in the NFL right now in missed tackle percentage against Bijan Robinson and Drake London, who is an absolute baller after the catch. I have huge concerns about that. And who knows? This is a good defense. They have a lot of good young players on their defense for the Falcons. James Pierce is playing well. They drafted Xavier Watts, who a lot of Bills fans wanted to take at safety, and he's been really good for them. He was AFC or NFC Defensive Rookie of the Month, and he's a player that has been making plays. And they got a lot of just energy getting to the ball. This is going to be a challenging game on the road. Now, with all that said, they did just get absolutely waxed by the Carolina Panthers a couple weeks ago in just the most random NFL game of the season. But I think this is an offense that's really starting to come into its own. Now, Bobby Babich said something interesting yesterday that I didn't really think about before he did, but he's right. The Bills' defense is really comfortable going up against quarterbacks that throw left-handed. I mean, they play Tua twice a year, and I think that's an advantage going into this matchup against a second-year quarterback who's only making his 7th NFL start. We know the history with Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich, and their defense against young quarterbacks, especially in a first-time matchup with no familiarity. That could cause problems. There's only been 4 turnover-worthy throws by the Falcons this year, which is actually really good. That ranks pretty high in the NFL in terms of taking care of the football. But once you get into the game and if Ed Oliver gets back especially, and we talked about the pressure on the outside that they're generating, Michael Penix forces a couple throws. I could see the Bills getting back into the turnover mojo a little bit and maybe picking them off a couple times.
Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, heading to Atlanta. So different week. Practice doesn't resume until Thursday, so lay everything out, what we can check out this week here, Matt.
Yeah, I got an early look at the Falcons up on all the podcast platforms. You can watch it on YouTube, download on Apple and Spotify. And then we will have our collaboration podcast tonight with the Bills Kickoff Live crew, Carl Jones and Josh Reed. Join us once a week. And then, we'll be off to the races Thursday, full coverage over at Syracuse.com.
Matt, enjoy the rest of your week, man. Let's talk again next week.
Sounds good, boys. Take care.
There he is, Matt Perino, covering the Buffalo Bills at the Syracuse Post-Standard. You can check out his work on the Shout podcast as well, Syracuse.com, as we break down this upcoming matchup. Coming up Monday night as the Bills travel down to the dirty South, Atlanta.
A lot of these guys who were contributors last year. You can throw Taron Johnson in here, the two safeties, certainly Tre'Davious White, Ray Davis. Underperforming right now. You're still 4-1. You're still atop the division. You still have everything in front of you. But again, if you are someone who is just going to say, everything's fine, it's not our show. We're looking at things differently, and we're trying to present to you, all right, if the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, if they're going to get to the place we all want them to go, what needs to happen here? And, well, there's some things we got to fix here.
We're busy next hour. We got a lot going on with Michael F. Florio talking some fantasy football from NFL Network. He's going to stop by a little bit before 5 o'clock. Amerks head coach Mike Leone stops into the studio. We'll have him live with us right around 4:25. And coming up next in the sports bar, it's all right, Gino. You drop the bag, I pick it up, and we keep going. Survive and Advance Football. I will break it down. I will share the rules. I will give you a winner in week 6 for you to thank me on Monday for. Okay? Book it now. Thank me on Monday. We're going to get to that next. Your calls are always welcome as well at 866-4326-585, 866-4FAN.
sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Bills bringing back linebacker Balin Spector to the practice squad today. Also signed to the practice squad is a corner, Jalen Kimber. He last played at Penn State. Trade today in the NFL, the Bengals and Browns. Joe Flacco goes from the Browns to the Bengals. This is for a pick swap of the 5th and 6th rounds. Baseball tonight, it's the Yankees and Jays coming up at 8:08. Toronto can advance with a win. They're up 2-0. Cody Bellinger, the Yankees, on facing Jays starter Shane Bieber.
Veteran pitcher. From what I remember, the stuff is obviously very good. And, it's definitely going to be a challenge, right? And he's one of the better pitchers in the game. And so we just got to, focus on ourselves and do what we can to prepare and put together our best at-bats.
Detroit and Seattle, Game 3 for them. Yet to start there in a rain delay. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Welcome in indeed. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on, and glad you're listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Thanks for checking us out in the free-to-download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. We've also got the live stream up and rolling. You can watch the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester's YouTube page, also streaming on Twitch. The Fan Rochester, like and subscribe while you're there. I'm Danger, that's Battaglia.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, we don't have FS1 in the studio, but I guess today doesn't matter. Not sure if they're going to get that game into Detroit. Do we need to do this?
What are we talking about?
I
know what we're talking about, Gene. We're talking about Survivor football. This is a passion that is near and dear to my heart. You may ask why. Why? Well, I have multiple times gone into at least week 6 in my Survivor football pool, which makes me an expert, Gene. I am an expert. And so we are going to give you a winner for week 6 if you are still in your Survivor football pool. Fear not. There's a lot of bumpy roads ahead, but we will navigate through this course. We will give you the rules of the road before we make our pick. Gene, as maybe you've heard, we have some rules before we pick our...
I've heard this. It's good to review.
Number 1 rule.
Yeah.
No road teams. We will not take a team that is on the road. Although last week, taking a road team proved to be a winner as we took Detroit over the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. We avoid divisional games. We don't want to take familiar opponents. Games always end up wonky. The Vegas line is our guide. The favorite that you pick must be giving more than 5 points. No savers in Survivor football. Savers are losers. Hedgers are losers as well. Oh, you've got multiple picks in the same pool? Loser. Bad defenses? Bad plays. Avoid the bad defenses when you're making your pick in Survivor football. Look out for the teams that are playing at home for the second consecutive week. Now, there is no shame in picking against a bad team week after week. That was kind of the philosophy last week when we picked against the Cincinnati Bengals. We took the Detroit Lions, knowing that the Bengals have just been absolutely beautiful.
I like how you're saying we, as if I was along for the ride on that, but you changed the pronoun, but go ahead.
No kill shot.
Yeah.
No kill shot. We don't override logic. We don't take an outlier game praying that the majority in your pool are going to get knocked out. No one wins their pool in week 1. You have to run your race, and you don't look at the rest of the pool and their picks. No, you make the pick with the confidence and knowledge that you listen to the Sports Bar, and we gave you a winner. Now to review, through 5 weeks, those of us who are still alive and have listened to the Sports Bar have gone in this order. Jeez. Seething right now. Just seething. We can't go with Denver. We took them week 1 over Tennessee. We will not take the Baltimore Ravens. We took them in week 2. I don't even remember who they beat in week 2. Was it the Raiders?
That was the Browns.
The Browns.
The Browns. We violated the divisional, but the Browns are just a mess at that point.
And the Ravens now look like,
like a mess, yeah.
We took the Buccaneers in week 3. Gave us a little bit of a sweat against the Jets, but we survived. We went with the Bills against the Saints. No need to get cute. And if you listen to me in week 5, Detroit was the pick. So we're on to week 6.
This is torture for me.
What are you talking about?
Like, this is my bit. This is like...
Is it torture because I'm doing it better than you?
You like have like the whip and you're saying sit in the chair and be blindfolded and keep your mouth shut. I am the dominatrix.
Let me tell you what else we're gonna do, Gino. We're gonna follow the formula. We're gonna go exactly the way.
Dude, like there's an easy pick. Make the pack.
First, we're gonna cross off every divisional game. Eagles Giants. That's your game on Thursday night.
No,
not taking it. Cleveland Pittsburgh. That's a 1 o'clock game. By the way, only Cleveland would forego their bye after playing in London, only to face a divisional rival after trading the quarterback who started the season for them. Wow. I might just think about taking the Steelers out of spite. I'm kidding. I'm not taking the Steelers this week. We're going to cross off road favorites. The London game isn't in play for us. We took Denver. They're giving over a touchdown to the Jets in London. The Chargers, 4.5-point favorites in Miami. Patriots, 3.5-point favorites in New Orleans. The Rams are favored by 7.5 in Baltimore. My God, what has happened to the Ravens? The Cowboys are favored by 3.5 in Carolina. We took the Bills in week 4, but they would qualify here. They're giving the Falcons 3.5 right now in Atlanta. We're going to cross off small favorites as well, Gino.
Cross them off.
Jacksonville, only a 1.5 favorite at home against the Seahawks. The Raiders are giving 4.5 at home against the Titans. By the way, gross. What a gross football game. The Raiders and the Titans.
This is I'm going to get too cute saying, oh, it's my only chance to take the Raiders this year.
I don't know if I asked you if I wanted your opinion on this pick, Gino, but that's okay. You feel free to chime in. The Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites at home against the Niners. The Chiefs favored by 2. And if G's going to walk out of the studio now. The Chiefs are favored by 2.5 on Sunday night against the Lions. That's a little surprising to me. Monday night, you've got the Commanders. They're favored by 4.5 against the Bears. That leaves us with 2 options, Gene. The Colts, which, if I'm not mistaken, right now would be the 1 seed in the AFC. Everybody had the Colts being what the Colts are, right? All the experts knew the Colts were going to be this juggernaut. They're at home, and they're favored by 6.5 over the team that doomed Gino last week, the Arizona Cardinals. Buddy, I almost feel like I should take the Colts just to redeem you, just to avenge your loss.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, of course.
Don't do that.
I'm not going to.
Don't do that. Like the Bengals are such a mess. He just traded for Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is going to be the guy that's going to save that team. Hey, NFL, the Bengals are playing the Bills at 4:25 on December 7th. Can you flex that game to 1 o'clock? Nobody's going to watch in that prime window on Fox. Flex it. Danger, the pick is easy. It's on the platter.
The Packers are 14.5-point favorites at home against the Bengals. Now, as everybody knows, I'm a Bears guy. I'm a Bears fan. This is hard.
No loyalty.
This is hard, Gino, because, I'm not going to come into the sports bar and sing "Go Pack Go." That just goes against everything that I stand for as a football fan. But I will play some contemporary music for our Green Bay Packer fans, the Beer Barrel Polka.
Roll out the barrel, we'll have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel.
Doesn't it sound like Lambo?
We've got the blues on the run.
Oh, yeah, my Danger. We're going to win this game.
Yeah. No, we're going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't care if it's Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel or whoever they traded for from Cleveland. I don't care. Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, 14.5-point favorites? Come on. You're right. This was served up on a platter. The pick is Green Bay. Green Bay is your Week 6 winner. Book it now. And thank us, Gino. Thank us on Monday.
We have Bart Winkler, who does the show on Infinity weeknights at 11, right? He's Milwaukee-based. Do we play that music for him on Monday?
The
or
Beer
Friday?
Barrel
Yeah,
Polka?
the Friday when he comes on.
Contemporary music for the people of Wisconsin.
That's an easy pick.
Yeah.
Green Bay, extra week of rest. And, look, things have been just a little off with the Packers, admittedly. This is the get-right game right now.
I didn't want to sing. I couldn't sing. I don't know what I would have sang if I were to sing anything.
No, I think the polka music.
All right, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that worked out okay. All I really wanted is your approval. I'm seeking your approval. I mean, this is imitation is the largest form of flattery.
Look, I wasn't allowed to talk during the one part.
I mean, I didn't want you to ruin my rhythm. I was in a little bit of I was throwing gas. I was on a bit of a heater, and I didn't need you to step in and knock me out of my groove. But we're advancing. This is Week 6. We're gonna get to Week 7. The Packers will beat the Bengals at Lambeau, and we will be back this time next week with another pick for Week 7.
And did we look at Week 7 schedule?
Not yet.
No, you don't do that.
No, not looking ahead. Not looking for the kill shot. A lot can change in the NFL week by week. And the Packers coming off a bye, yeah, I kind of like their chances.
Yeah, would you have thought Week 1 Packers over Bengals? Oh, that's an easy one. Nope.
No.
Not at all.
Correct. We'll have Mike Leone, the Rochester Americans head coach, stopping by and joining us in studio in just a few.
Unless he's listening right like, oh, I got to go on with these guys.
Yeah, maybe he turned around when he found out that we have poverty cable and we don't even have the Tigers on, even though that game is right now postponed. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network will be giving us some fantasy advice, and boy, do I need it. Fantasy advice from NFL Network's Michael F. Florio coming up before 5 o'clock as well.
Yeah, and your time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You know, when you have people, you text with them during games, right? I know you didn't watch this last night. I thought the game was actually entertaining. I'm not ready to say, ooh, Jacksonville's a team you got to watch out for. This seems more what we're seeing from the Chiefs, that it's just a little off. But I found this so rich, Danger. May I read you some tweets, some texts on my phone I got from Jay Binkley?
Oh, Jay is texting you directly during the game. He's giving you play. Did you ask for this, by the way? Did you ask for him?
No.
This is how close you are with Binkley.
No. This is the world is against us. And what does the world say about the Chiefs? The Chiefs get all the calls. This is Jay. Chiefs get all the calls, right? 12 penalties to 4. Chiefs number 3 in penalties in the NFL. So much for all the calls. Which I pointed out, and if you watched this game last night, you had one DPI and one OPI. They flat out missed too.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch that, you're like, whoever ESPN had on as the official, like, no, that wasn't beyond the 1 yard. That should be offensive.
That's right.
Yeah, no, they didn't call that. And then the McDuffie interception, that shouldn't have happened. No, Jay, it's magnified. Missed 5 false starts on them. Missed clear pass interference on Jags.
Meanwhile, Juwan Taylor is like the most penalized offensive lineman in the league because it's a false start every snap with that guy. Yeah, you could call false start on Taylor every play because he's always getting a jump. I don't know. I saw somebody post a clip of Chris Jones kind of letting his foot off the gas on the touchdown from Lawrence. Lawrence falling twice, still having enough time to collect himself and score the touchdown.
Yeah.
And on that play, Jones is kind of loafing. I think they're comfortable. I think they're satiated. I think they're getting lazy in Kansas City. I don't know what else to say.
I think it's great. I'm not worried about Jacksonville. That was a bonus. Like, oh, great. The Bills are only going to be a game ahead of Kansas City. Nope. 2 back. Stay down, Kansas City.
These teams in the South don't bother you. You're not worried about Indy. You're not worried about Jacksonville. You're not worried about Houston, who now looks like they're finding their groove as well.
I believe when we get to big boy football and they've got to come up here in January, it will be different.
Better matchup. Daniel Jones could turn into a pumpkin when it comes to January.
Correct. Those are not the teams that would scare me. Those are not the quarterbacks that would scare me. Mahomes in the postseason, and when they get Rice back and blah, 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 sure, that's going to be a problem. Even Baltimore. Do we really think Baltimore's down and out, or are they going to
I think they're done. I think they're on fumes right now.
I think they're going to be can you imagine if they got in as the 7th? We're used to the Steelers or some team like that, like Miami getting in as a 7th.
Right.
A team like that is the 7th.
Yeah, right now the Steelers going to win that division. Even if they falter down the stretch like they usually do, they'll probably get enough of a cushion where they'll win that division. And if you do get a wild card out of that division, it could be Baltimore if they get healthy, if they can get it together. But, man, it feels like a lost season right now in Baltimore.
Mike Leone is in our green room.
Let's get to Mike Leone. Rochester Americans head coach making his first visit of the season. Into the sports bar. We'll get you ready for opening weekend. Rochester Americans hockey with Mike Leone next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
The rare trade today in division in the NFL between the Bengals and the Browns. Joe Flacco going from Cleveland to Cincinnati in exchange for a pick swap of 5th and 6th rounders. The Buffalo Bills tinkering with their practice squad today, bringing back linebacker Balin Spector, also signing a practice squad corner in Jalen Kimber. Baseball tonight, Aaron Boone on his starter.
Yeah, a ton. He's been obviously one of our horses this year. He's had a great year, and anytime we give him the ball, we feel like we have an excellent chance to win, and that'll be the same today. He'll be ready to roll and hopefully get us off to a good start.
Carlos Rodon getting the start for the Yankees. That's at 8:08. Toronto can advance with a win. They're up 2-0. Detroit and Seattle yet to start. They are in a rain delay. That series tied at 1. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Well, you know what that music means. The Amerks just scored. We're back in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia for the first time in a brand new season. Amerks head coach Mike Leone joining us in studio. Coach, hope you had a great summer. Welcome back to the Rock, and welcome back to another season of Amerks hockey.
Really excited to be back. Looking forward to the season, especially with no preseason games. I think everybody's just really anxious to get the season going.
Talk to me a little bit about your summer. You were telling us off air that you went through the process that everybody dreads, and I'm wondering if you, a guy of your stature and your significance, can still lure friends to help you move with pizza and a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah, no, it was mostly solo with my wife, but I told my wife this is it. We're never moving again. It was we did it ourselves and save a little money, but it was it's good now, but it was a lot for sure. And then just selling the old house and it's just a lot.
It's always a process.
Yeah, it's and the time you get in the summer is too short. You brought up no preseason. What? Why? What happened?
There was just a conflict. We usually play Syracuse. I don't know exactly what it was, but I know there was a conflict there where it just didn't work out, rink availability, and then I think they played Belleville. So it's mostly for the guys. I would say like the War Dog, Slacks, Kuntar, those guys that didn't get to play NHL preseason. Obviously, they were practicing really hard practices and limited guys on the ice. Most of the guys were in the third group, so it's a small number. They're in really good shape. It just they didn't get a chance to play in a game, and then we kind of simulated a couple for our training camp, a few just games. Obviously, it's not. Guys they're going hard, but also like no one wants to get injured in a team versus team scrimmage. But we got a lot out of it, and everybody's just really excited to get going.
Mike Leone, head coach, Rochester Americans, joining us. Toronto, the opponent. So a lot of changes with the personnel. And we'll get to know some of these guys. Let's start off with your special teams, your power play, because one guy I love no longer on the team, Murray. So, tell us about the personnel. How do you make up for that?
Yeah, I think it'll probably be. We'll probably start with Dunner. Dunner eats a lot of minutes there, and Dunner, when he is on the power play, he's really effective. Especially when he was in the second unit, he's a big body. He's a great net front. But I think the biggest thing for power plays, you want to start with the face-off, and Dunner is probably one of the best guys in the American Hockey League at face-offs. And then most of the group will actually be the same. You got Helly. Helly will move in there just with the hands, how they match up. We had
Consta Hellenius, yeah.
Yep, so he's a righty, so he'll probably be in the bumper. So now, when you go down to the goal line, you have those plays in the slot where the hands match up. We had a lot of lefties, and then most likely it will be probably Zach Jones. He's he played in the NHL the last 2 years. He's really, we feel we have an NHL defenseman that's down in the American League. He's really smart. He's actually ran power play units in the NHL when he was with the Rangers. He's really gifted. So we like the look of it. Now it's the execution in the game, and we're going to practice that tomorrow. So, but we're excited about the pieces that we do have.
Yeah, and we do see some familiar faces returning, obviously,
Yeah.
and I think the biggest one that fans will gravitate towards is Between the Pipes with Devin Levi. It's going to be a hard task for him to do better than he did last season. I thought he had a really, really good season last year. What's your projection for Devin this year?
Yeah, Dev is he's come. I wasn't there the first year, but just the maturity of the player and the person of every player on our team wants to play in the NHL, and I'm sure Dev wants to play in the NHL. And the situation right now is he's playing for us, and he's going to be. I would say, he's not a captain, but he leads by example by how hard he practices, and when he's here, he's all in, and I think he's really excited. And no, it's a good. I mean, we look at the roster of how many. We did lose some pieces, but when you look at the series against Laval, we got 13 out of the 18 guys on the roster that played in the last game, and. Which is really, you don't get that a lot in the American Hockey League. When you look at our decor, Novi, Metz, Comey, and then Comey's a year older, and then you add in, you probably see Murtka. If anything changes, he'll probably play most likely, and then it's just a really good group. Jonesy, and then you have Rathbone. So you gotta, and Johnson's. Looks like he's going to make the roster. So we would have had 5 out of 6 up there, and then you replace Jonesy for kind of Klager, similar players.
Sure.
But Jonesy's probably a little bit more offensively gifted and has a little bit more, I would say, NHL projection. Like he's, the last 2 years he's played in the NHL, but we really like the group that we have coming back.
Yeah, how do you manage Isak Rosén? Because, unfortunately, we compare him to somebody like Kulik, and Kulik has made that jump, and now we're looking at Rosén at what point will this happen? How would you describe his game coming into the season?
Yeah, I think Rosie's just a player where the consistency is the biggest thing. You see it in spurts, and you saw it, I would say, probably his last 2 preseason games. He played his best when he's skating. With him, it's more about the habits of he's never going to be the most physical player, but his staying on the puck, being a really good forechecker, using his skating, I would say with really skilled players, they have a tendency sometimes to stay on the outside of the rink of getting inside the dots and attacking the game. But Rosie should be, a 4th year in the league. He should be a dominant player. We expect him to be, and I think it's with all those guys that, just like Dev, you want to be in the NHL, but you're here and you got to control what you can control. He's going to be playing with really good players. He's going to be playing a lot of ozone face-offs, power play. So we expect him, to lead us that as far as the output in the scoring is concerned.
Amerks open their season Friday night at Blue Cross Arena. Toronto, the opponent at 7:05. Then they get on the bus and head to Toronto north of the border for an afternoon till Saturday afternoon at 4. You can hear every Amerks game here on the Fan. Rochesters. We're joined by head coach Mike Leone. And you mentioned Devin taking a leadership role, maybe not a captain, but there are new faces on this team. There are familiar faces on this team, and I'm curious as to who is stepping up. I certainly see a guy like Metza is like, okay, that's a guy that's been here now for a few years and has that kind of leadership quality. Who are the guys that you're leaning on to kind of be those captains, the guys that are the leaders in the locker room?
Yeah, when you look at the leadership group, Dunner and Metz were huge pieces of that. You lose Yabon Mur that were in that group, probably, but then Carson Meyer, who's not available right now, but he's getting closer. But he wore a letter everywhere he's been. He's played in the NHL. He was on a really good Cleveland team. He was his captain in college. He's another guy. And then Rathbone, he didn't wear a letter last year, but the way he played towards the end of the season, he carries a lot of weight in the room with his voice. Mostly with him, it's just you just watch him play, and he's blocking shots. He'll fight if he needs to. So he's another guy. And then, guys like Warren and Slags that have been here a really long time, they're really respected in the room, even when they're not playing. Last year, given when we had a loaded lineup, they were in and out. They're great teammates. So their weight also carries a lot of Wade in the room and those guys, but it's a really good core of guys where we feel comfortable with our leadership group.
70 years for the franchise. Isn't that crazy? This time last year, we're just getting to know you. Amherst fans are just kind of getting to know you. You're getting to know our community. Yeah. Now that we're in year 2, what does it mean for you at this point of your career to be the head coach of such a storied franchise?
Yeah, no, it's humbling. Really grateful, even to get the opportunity last year when, I think I was the youngest coach in the league. I was only 36 at the time, but now going through it, it's an amazing place. Love coming to the rink every day. The people in the town, even going out, they're really, you feel like you're like a mini NHL team, really. Going through playoffs, what we went through and how people are invested in the community, people around the rink. I love it here. It's an amazing place, and we want to put on a product that the people are proud of, and I think we did that last year, and we're hoping we do the same thing again.
Mike, with 1 year under your belt now, what did you learn in that 1 year that you can apply in year 2?
Yeah, I think I was really nervous to start, I'll tell you that, but I think I learned a lot about not so much the X's and O's, but just really getting the team to buy into playing the way you want them to play, and more belief system, like core values that I believe in and how we should play the game. Just really coach into my strength, and Vinny and Pacer were incredible coaches. They have certain areas that they're really good at, and just more managing the group. I think in pro hockey, you're really managing people and making sure everyone is bought in, whether you're the 15th forward, 8th D, and I thought we did a really good job of that, making everyone feel really important to the team. And then when you're here, that you're a Rochester American, and we hope you get to the NHL, but more of a, when you have that selfless mindset as a team that, we had a lot of guys that had career years, War Dogs, Slags, like these guys, all of our Bones had a lot of guys. It was a really tight-knit group. It was unfortunate. We ran into a really good team in pretty much a Game 7, but it was we feel we have a lot of that, the guts back of the team, so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and maybe there's not a 13-day layoff this year. Maybe we can figure that out between first and second round. Question, and I don't know how you want to answer this, but a lot of what happens down here, some of it has to do with what goes on in Buffalo. And Danger Drive, we feel like we're just kind of observing what's happening over with the Sabres. You were out there for camp, so give us an idea here. Where are things trending with the Sabres?
Yeah, I thought they had a really good camp. It was really competitive. It was extremely difficult. I think the areas where I think Lindy and his staff and management really wanted, you got to keep pucks out of your net. I think that's been a big focus of, not to get into too much details, but changing their neutral zone and how they want to defend in their own zone, I think are really going to help. But I think that's the biggest thing, the messaging just from Lindy. I think they want to cut their goals. And, if you look at the teams that made it to the playoffs, the top 16 teams minus Montreal was the outlier team. They're all top 15 in goals against. They're going to score for sure, just with the amount of, the Thompsons, the Tucks, the pieces that they have. They're going to get goals from the back end. I think the focus was away from the puck and being a plus goal differential team. I think that's really important, and I think they've done a really good job of that at camp. It's hard to, especially in preseason, we got to go through it last year. You don't really know because no one's really playing a, full lineup. But I think the things that they were trying to work on, where they were evaluating on the game, I think we're good, and there were steps in the right direction, so I'm looking forward to it.
Head coach Mike Leone, Rochester Americans, our guest in studio here at the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia as they open their season Friday night at Blue Cross Arena against Toronto. Now, will you spend opening night preparing for Toronto, or will you allow yourself to enjoy some of the festivities tonight for the first night of the NHL season?
Yeah, I'll enjoy. I think more the first game is probably more. We'll look at it for sure, but not spend too much time on it. I think everybody's going to be anxious to play the game. It's more focused on how we need to play to get off to a really good start to start our season, and some of the things that we've been talking about, how we want to play, and then I'll enjoy the hockey for sure. My old boss is the new coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, so I'll tune into that one for sure.
All right, now let me spar with you for a second. There are too many teams in the baseball playoffs. If a team can blow a 15.5 game lead and somehow they're still alive.
That was tough, but it still got in though. But
and anything can happen when you get in the dance.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
The other night was a tough one for sure because they had that 2-run double and then they blew it in the 8th. But they're at home now, so you got home field. So hopefully they could do it.
And after a rough first week, your Lions look like they're
back. They were good. They were good. That Baltimore win doesn't look as good now. You know what I mean? How bad they're. Who would ever thought?
You took their soul. That's what.
Yeah, no, I think the Bills did that game.
The Bills might have taken their soul, but you finished the deed. You absolutely put them to bed.
But yeah, he's a great. You listen to some of his post-game speeches.
Who, Campbell?
Campbell. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's just he's got all those guys playing hard, no matter who's. They got injuries all the time, like everybody else in the NFL. But I was a little worried about the new OC, you know, because he was really good, and then. They're playing really good.
Well, Mike, we know you're going to channel your inner Dan Campbell throughout the course of the season. We're going to get these guys fired up. We got a big game to kick off the season. Friday night at Blue Cross. We're going to invite you all to check out the Amerks taking on the Marlies, and then Saturday as well.
Yeah, and Don Stevens will be on the call. I gotta ask you, like, okay, you spent a year with Don. This is it for him. You're 40. Do you have a Don Stevens story? What was that like working with him?
No, I don't have a story, but he's just like, I talk to him a lot. Like on the road, he comes into my office. Yeah, I call him the OG. Like he's Donnie's the best. Like he just is. I just like being around him. Like he loves it. Like he cares a ton. We talk a lot about the game and coach. He's just an awesome guy. I don't have one particular story. He's the man, and he's a legend, and I'm glad I got to, this is his last year, but we've become close, and he's the best.
We love it. He'll have the call Friday and Saturday. All of your Rochester Americans action can be heard once again this season on your home for Amerks Hockey. The Fan Rochester head coach Mike Leone in his first of weekly visits here in the Sports Bar. We'll see you every Tuesday.
Yep, I'll be here for sure.
Thanks, Coach. We got the fantasy football coming up here.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, and get some fantasy football advice next on The Fan.
TuneIn apps and take the sports leader with you everywhere you go.
Week 6 waiver wires in fantasy football. Let's get into it. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. And Mike, we know you're Bills Mafia. We could feel your disappointment all the way here in Western New York when the Bills dropped their first this season. We don't get to see them again until a Monday night game against Atlanta. But going into that game, I would imagine if you're a Bijan owner, you're probably licking your chops a little bit going into that matchup against the Bills.
Oh, yeah. I have Bijan on a couple of teams myself, and I know it's not only is it a great matchup and everything like that, it's Monday night, right? It is always a good feeling to know you have your best player still to go on a Monday night because you never feel like you're out of it, even if you fall behind or something like that. And those come from behind Monday night victories are the most fun in fantasy. They're the ones you remember. Maybe I'm just the optimist here. I'm not really freaking out or panicking or anything along those lines about what happened Sunday night.
Oh, come on. We freak out, we panic. That's what we do here in Western New York. I guess that's what you do when you're outside of the area. Michael, I got to ask you a follow-up question to that game from a fantasy lens, that being about the Patriots because, Antonio Gibson, we don't want anybody to get hurt. You have Stevenson. What is it with Travion Henderson? Are they just saving him for later in the season? Do they not trust him? Is he just do they view him as just a gadget guy? Because I don't know. Like, is Stevenson going to just be the clear number one? It seems like a favorable matchup for New England going in against New Orleans. How do you, evaluate that New England backfield moving forward?
So I don't think anyone was higher on Travion Henderson this season than I was. I loved him as a prospect. Loved him in fantasy drafts, was saying that he should be a third-round pick, and then that's ultimately where he ended up going late August. But I put it on Twitter this week. I was like, am I the only one who sees this? Like, he is clearly the best running back on the team. I think the issue is he's missed some blocks. Like, that works against him. He's had some mental mistakes. But if you want to talk about mistakes, the other running back in this backfield is legitimately handing the ball to the other team as often as he possibly can. So I think the issue has been that there's been 3 running backs. Like, Travion is actually within, I think it is 7 carries of Ramondre Stevenson, and he leads this backfield in targets. You wouldn't know that by the fantasy aspect of it. But the issue has been that Antonio Gibson, the third back, had been getting way too more utilized. And you could have a fantasy backfield where 2 guys are utilized and both are relevant. 3 makes it very, very difficult. So it is unfortunate the way that this backfield has been whittled down to 2. Obviously don't want to see anyone get hurt. Obviously hope a speedy recovery for Antonio Gibson. But with the favorable matchup this week and next week they get the Titans, I think we're at a point where you could flex both of the Patriot running backs, Stevenson and Travion. And I'll continue to say it, like, maybe I'm wrong, but the value is lower now than it ever has been on Travion. I feel like it is a buy opportunity. They have a great schedule the rest of the way. The next couple of weeks is a good runway for him to potentially take over. So it's been frustrating. I don't know why the Patriots are using him the way that they are, but I still have hope that better days are ahead. Because I think if you split the backfield between him and Stevenson, talent should win out, especially if Stevenson keeps fumbling the ball.
All right, let's talk about Week 6 waiver priorities, Michael. We know that there's some murkiness in the backfield in Arizona specifically. Which direction are you going there? Who should we focus our attention on and devote our biggest budget to?
It's Michael Carter. He led that team in snaps. He had 18 carries. He was the most utilized running back in the passing game, which I will fully admit did not see that coming at all. I thought DeMercado would have that role on lock. And then with everything transpiring with DeMercado this week and the head coach and all of that weird stuff, which I'm just going to say, if the head coach's defense stops the worst offense in football, they still win that game. But, so yeah, I think Michael Carter is the clear ad there. He is one of the top 2 or 3 ads on the week, depending maybe if Rico Dowdle is out there. But to me, those are the top 2 guys. And if you need a running back, I would be pretty aggressive, understanding, though, that it may only be 3 weeks because Trey Benson could return. But if Michael Carter continues to play at a high level, there's no guarantee that they just go right back to Trey Benson because Benson was already a backup running back himself. It's not like this is James Conner coming back. So I think Michael Carter, I've already put in a lot of claims for him on my teams, and I think your listeners should do the same.
If there's one team that will allow rushing yards, that's Miami. But what are the Chargers going to trot out there? So a running back we thought would be putting up great numbers, Mario Hampton, he gets hurt. So are you? How does this get divvied up? You have Kamani Vidal, you have Hassan Haskins. What are your thoughts on the Chargers' backfield entering this week?
I am putting my chips in on Kamani Vidal with the caveat of, like, I'm putting backup bids on Haskins just because if Vidal goes to someone else, if they outbid me, I think it's okay to have a smaller bid on Haskins as well. But the reason I'm going with Vidal is, I just think he is the superior player of the two. I know this past week with Hampton hurt, we saw the two of them split work pretty much down the middle. But last season, when J.K. Dobbins missed, Gus Edwards was their lead back there after Dobbins went down. But it was Kamani Vidal that was playing over Haskins, and he had a lot of the passing game usage there as well. So, plus, coming out of Troy, he led his draft class in missed tackles force. Like he is a guy who there was some prospect pedigree with him coming out. Haskins, I think, remains in his role of the RB3 there, contribute on special teams, stuff like that. So Vidal is where I'm putting my chips, and it depends on your situation. Like, I have one league where I don't really need running backs. I'm 5-0. I'm putting in like a $6 bid out of 100 just to have a bid in there. But then I have a 14-team league where I'm 1-4 and I'm depleted with injuries. Like, in that league, I'm putting a $35 bid in on him. So it kind of depends on your situation and what your free agency looks like and stuff. But he, to me, joins Rico Dowdle and Michael Carter as the big pickups of the week.
Michael, the Eagles lost their first game of the week to Denver, or their first game of the year to Denver last week, and we get to see them quickly coming up here on Thursday night in the Meadowlands. Talk me and other A.J. Brown owners off the ledge, because it's a hard thing to think about benching a guy that you know can single-handedly win you a week. Are you buying into what's being sold and told out of Philadelphia that Hurts and Barkley and Brown had a little powwow, a little meeting, that things are going to be different, things are going to be better because the production we've gotten out of Brown so far this year, and for that matter, Barkley last week, not acceptable?
Yeah, no, it isn't. 0% chance I am benching A.J. Brown this week. And I know I am very bullish on A.J. Brown. I have been all season long. But I think if you look at his game, the volume wasn't as good as it was the week before. The production was better, though. But he did beat Pat Surtain. He went 4 for 5 against him for 40 yards, averaging 10 yards a catch. That's a win for me against the best corner in football. But if you watch that game, the reason the Eagles lost is because Jalen Hurts airmailed A.J. Brown, who had 2-3 steps on the nearest defender, would have been like a 55-yard touchdown or something like that. If he catches that, we're not worried about A.J. Brown at all right now. I don't think this is on A.J. Brown at all. I think Jalen Hurts has been playing really poor football. I think the Eagles' offense has been broken. I think we're finally allowed to talk about it right now, because last week and the week before when people wanted to bring it up, it was like, well, they're winning. They're 3-0. They're 4-0. So who cares? Well, they're 4-1 now, and I think there's an easy case that they could be sitting at 3-2 or 2-3. And I'm a big believer that what your eyes tell you matters just as much as what the scoreboard tells you. And it reminds me of the Chiefs last year, where we're like, yeah, they're winning, but they're not that good. That being said, the Eagles get the Giants this week. The Giants are in the top 3 in yards allowed to wide receivers. They're in the top 3 in yards allowed on deep passes this season. They don't generate a ton of pressure, although they have a bunch of talent up front. This defense, you're hearing Spencer Rattler say this was like a vanilla defense that the Giants threw out at him last week. So I think the Eagles, this is a get-right spot for them. I think this is a buy low week for A.J. Brown because people who have him are starting to sour. They might be sitting at 2-3 or something like that, getting frustrated. So I think it's a good chance to try to buy low because I'm just going to keep saying it. We know how talented A.J. Brown is. We know how successful he has been in this system with Jalen Hurts. We know Jalen Hurts, regardless of where you want to rank him and stuff, we know that he is a better passer than what we've seen so far. So I'm going to bank on the talent. And with the schedule opening up a little bit here, I think this is a good get-right spot for A.J. Brown.
If there's nothing on your waiver wire, but you want to at least shake the tree when it comes to a trade, are the Bengals a worthy team to target? And just follow me on this. I'm just picturing an owner, maybe a Jamar Chase or perhaps T. Higgins or whatever's in their backfield. And I don't know if like Joe Flacco in a week or two is going to be the answer here, but I'm just wondering, like, or is this like, hey, this isn't going to get any better this year. This team's going to go into shutdown mode, sell now. What do you do with the Bengals, whether that's a buy or a sell sort of proposition, Michael?
I'll be honest, if I have like Jamar Chase, I don't want to sell low on him because we saw last week that even with poor quarterback play, like the variance with Jamar Chase is obviously going to be a lot wider without Joe Burrow. But he is still an amazing talent. He is still one of the best, if not the best field stretcher in the world right now. So his ceiling is always high. The floor could be a lot lower, and there might be some frustrating weeks, but I don't think I want to sell Jamar Chase for what people are probably going to want to give me for him. The opposite I don't want to trade for T. Higgins. T. Higgins is averaging 35 yards a game on the year, including the games he played with Joe Burrow. It just hasn't really worked out for him. I know last week he had double-digit fantasy points. He needed a 1-yard touchdown to get it. Without it, the floor is so low. And the thing is, I'm not convinced that this is an upgrade for them. Actually, numbers-wise, if you compare the stats Browning versus Joe Flacco, Browning's actually been the better quarterback so far this season. And Flacco has struggled under pressure. That's something he's going to have to deal with probably even more in Cincinnati. I get it. He's got he's got a strong arm. Maybe he could still deliver the ball downfield. But outside of that 6-game stretch with the Browns 2 years ago that I still think it is ridiculous that he got comeback player of the year over DeMar Hamlin, but that's just me. It hasn't been pretty for Joe Flacco. He got benched. He was so bad last year for Anthony Richardson, who they benched him for Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco got benched for Dylan Gabriel this year. It just hasn't been an effective quarterback play. It hasn't been pretty. And more than anything, I think the Bengals should have traded for Jameis Winston, but that's just me.
So, Michael, with that in mind, if you're a manager who's streaming defenses through the course of the season, Green Bay's a priority this week, obviously. Are there other team defenses that you're looking to stream against favorable opponents?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with the Packers. I'm not shying away from them despite the change at quarterback. I think the Steelers very much so in play against Flacco's old team, the Cleveland Browns, and Dylan Gabriel there. Schedule makers of the Browns no favor. They have to fly from London now after playing a team that was already in Europe for a week, head out to Pittsburgh and play their division rival on the road. And then the Raiders and Titans are both in play because those teams are turning the ball over at such a high rate, struggling to score points. And I know the Cowboys are usually a team that we stream against, and I still think you could stream your Panthers against them. But they're in play as a streaming option this week as well because the Panthers take some sacks. They've had turnover issues, and more than anything, they struggle to put points on the board.
Michael, tell everybody about the Sick podcast and where we want more fantasy advice from you, where they can turn to.
Yeah, it's Sick Podcast with me and Stevie Johnson out every week over at YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. We were down in Orange County watching together this Sunday. It wasn't the best result, but it was still a lot of fun. And then NFL Network, Fantasy Live, The Insiders, Stardom Stidham will be out tomorrow. And then lastly, Rotoballer and Florio's Football Show if that hasn't met your content needs already.
Thank you so much for the fantasy advice. Let's do it again next week, Michael, and enjoy the rest of this week.
Yeah, hopefully it's a Victory Tuesday and go Bills.
We'll be looking forward to it. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, dishing out some fantasy football advice here in advance of the Week 6 NFL schedule.
Isn't that funny how, he's out of the blast zone. He's like, okay, a 3-point loss.
Against a division opponent.
Yeah, we're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a little bit of a higher standard, I think. I think we're a little bit close to it. And not to say that he doesn't know the Buffalo Bills the way we know the Buffalo Bills, but we are just physically closer to it. We are consuming a little bit more than he might be, and certainly see some of the warts that are on display with this team, even in a win. One of those is just that they might have a type that they can't say no. They don't know how to quit a player.
A type, or is it a management flaw?
Well,
we'll
discuss.
Yeah, we'll discuss.
Happy hour is next in the sports bar, and the Bills are bringing back a familiar face to their practice squad. Gino stumped me on this one earlier. He wanted me to think, all right, who did I said, did A.J. Klein come out of retirement? No, but close. We'll get into that. We'll unpack everything we learned from Matt Perino as well, who joined us in the 3 o'clock hour. And joining us before last call, RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas, all coming up here before 6 on The Fan.
Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester. WROC AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester, and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
A trade today in the NFL, the Bengals and the Browns. Joe Flacco going to Cincinnati. This in exchange for a pick swap of the 5th and 6th rounds. The Bills making a few adjustments to their practice squad today. Back is Balin Spector. The linebacker comes back along with a corner named Jalen Kimber. Baseball, Yankees and Jays coming up at 8:08 tonight. Toronto can advance with the win. They're up 2-0. Cody Bellinger, the Yankees, unfacing Jays starter Shane Bieber.
Veteran pitcher. From what I remember, the stuff is obviously very good. And, it's definitely going to be a challenge, right? And he's one of the better pitchers in the game. And so we just got to, focus on ourselves and do what we can to prepare and put together our best at-bats.
The other baseball playoff game, Detroit and Seattle, that's yet to start. They're in a rain delay. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
It is happy hour in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for listening and making us part of your day at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. Also, streaming live. You can watch our video stream on Twitch and on YouTube, our channel, The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. Also, maybe you didn't know, you can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. I'm Danger, and that's Battaglia.
And how do we feel about this? Like, coming up in 2 minutes, it's the start of the NHL season, 5 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock Pacific. Sure, a lot of us say, boy, I wish I could watch that game. I think I'm okay with it because it's a little bit of self-awareness, knowing that, hey, maybe it's not a great idea to go up against the baseball playoffs, particularly if the Yankees are playing. And we bitch about this all the time. Like, hey, it might be good to get a younger audience kind of involved. 5 o'clock, I'm okay with this starting.
I would say 97% of the people who listen to the sports bar.
Oh, who cares?
It's a Francesa. Especially when you have
the NHL, really.
The opening night of the NHL, especially when you have the Panthers and the Blackhawks. Like
that I would agree.
That's
with,
okay. You get a little rivalry with the Rangers and the Penguins in the prime slot, and you get a West Coast game, the tripleheader to start. I mean, ESPN, even though as a platform they committed a crime last week, for the most part, as a platform, they have been great for the NHL as far as exposing it, giving it airtime, and putting a little bit of muscle into the production. But you got postseason baseball tonight. You're still, the NFL is still going on. You got a lot of NHL hockey between now and the playoffs. It's going to have, if your team loses game one of the NHL, it's like baseball, right? You're not over.
Yeah, I think there's a timing thing to it. When baseball comes around opening day, it just signifies, hey, that crappy weather you just went through, it's spring, everybody. Go outside. Yay.
Most of the time, yes.
Yeah, most of the time, at least. But at least that it's a signal that better days to come. I just think of all the seasons, hockey's the one that's too long. Hockey is the one sport that there's a big difference between playoff hockey and regular season hockey. What if we had more playoff hockey during the regular season? Well, you're never going to get that when these guys are playing all these games.
That's right. And it also signifies oh, by the way, winter is coming. Which for us, honestly, no complaints about what we've had. I know today was kind of gray and dank, and all it's really going to take is one cold night and one windy day, and every leaf is going to fall simultaneously. The leaves are holding on for dear life right now because the weather has been so nice that they haven't fallen. It's going to dump on us. We're going to get a shower of leaves simultaneously when that weather drops.
Here's what I'm concerned with, and I am no weather expert, but if you're having 80-degree days in October and we know cold weather's coming, all right, what happens when that cold weather crosses a warm lake? I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, you're talking about snow. Right. Yeah, that could happen as well. So, yes, the NHL season gets underway. Yes, the Yankees season could come to an end later tonight.
I know. I'm a Met fan. I don't want to see that.
I'm with you.
I said it. I think the Bronx is a great venue for playoff baseball, and the Yankees were a no-show up in Toronto. Shockingly so. And this was freed. Like, I'm reading a lot of, like, anti-Judge stuff, like, when I'm driving back from Buffalo at 2 in the morning, whoever's, like, the overnight guy in WFAN going off on Judge, like, he doesn't hit the big, the timely homer. Like, okay, so he homered when the team was down, 12 to whatever. Look, he does so much for that team. And the Yankees they dug themselves out of that hole against the Red Sox. Here's the difference. It's just that the Jays, we've kind of overlooked them the whole year. We have, even to the point where, they won the division, but earlier.
You know what they feel like to me? They feel like the 2015 Royals to me.
I think they're better than the 2015 Royals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because you think about that team, and I know you know that team well. I'm not trying to pick a scab, but that Royals team 2015, like, just name some of the starting pitchers. Like, it wasn't like this overly talented roster.
Santana, and I would struggle.
Right.
Yeah, I would struggle. Like Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain.
You had a couple of guys.
Yeah.
And the Jays feel scrappy like that. Like, they're Vlad's a star.
Well, you have Springer. Well, they've been doing this without Bichette.
And Bichette is the stir that the straw that stirs the drink, and he's been out, and he's not doing it. He's not in the divisional series, obviously. So, I'm with you. I want to see action. I want to see all of these series, go the maximum. I'm going to make sure we use it right too. Did we get a verdict on whether or not this pivotal Game 3 between Detroit and Seattle is getting underway? Is it still postponed? Are they gonna
postpone? Would be like delayed would be the term. So there's been a rain delay.
It's still delayed. It has not been postponed to tomorrow.
No. So like there at some point, like I would think that FS1 will do everything. What they don't want to happen, I don't know how they're going to manage this. Like FS1, if both these games are on that network. So where do they dump the game?
We go to FS2.
There is no FS2.
We go to FS8, the Ocho.
We go to Fox whatever. I don't know. Fox News. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. If like, hey, the Tigers in Seattle. Hey, we're tied at 1 in the 9th. Oh, sorry, we got to get to
By
the
the way, if that wasn't the most me thing ever, I don't know what was. I was so worried about using the word pivotal right that I used the wrong word in describing what the game was going to be postponed or delayed. That's just my mind and how it works. To the Buffalo Bills, where today
I flew off the handle a little
Gene
bit.
is triggered. Gene has had enough of the loyalty that is being displayed by Sean McDermott when it comes to bringing back familiar faces.
Of all these, like you could say Jordan Poyer. Okay, you would point to, hey, he was okay during the AFC Championship game. It's practice squad. Okay, I'll listen to that. Jordan Phillips, I should say. Jordan Poyer, hey, Jordan Poyer did a lot of good things. Maybe you give him a try. He's still on the practice squad. What do you point to when it comes to Balin Spector? What has this guy done? You mean to tell me there isn't a linebacker on some practice squad in the NFL? What is your pro personnel department not doing their job properly, or are you not listening to them?
Can you find somebody that's better than Jimmy Charlo or, dare I say, Buffalo Joe? I mean, Buffalo Joe is a special teams guy. He's not going anywhere. But I have to believe that on 31 other practice squads, there's a linebacker that would compete with Buffalo Joe or Jimmy Charlo.
Here's where I'm at, Danger, because every year we have like the one move. Okay, last year was Amari Cooper, and we had Rasul Douglas. Heck, you can go all the way back to Kelvin Benjamin. More often than not, it doesn't work. I don't want a move. We need moves here. You need a corner. You need a linebacker. I would entertain somebody like a Chris Olave, Like what you saw that Diggs was doing, hey, we really don't have that separation type of wide receiver. Oh, you don't need it. That's a debate. But there are holes on this defense right now. To bring up the name Trey Hendrickson, can we fantasize about that? Are we allowed to? That team is down and out. They're not going to pay him. He's going to walk.
I'm not interested in that guy.
He's better than Joey Bosa.
Older than Joey Bosa, too. I thought of, revisionist, but Parsons was the guy. Like, that's the guy you get because he's in his prime, and that's the guy you give up everything for.
But I'm going to push back on that because tell me the plan how you would do it. You would. I don't even know. How do you create $24 million in cap space? Olave would be like 2.5. That's it. Like you can bargain shop right now, and I think bargain shopping for Trey Henderson or give me a corner. Like this is just. Who's the guy that does the infomercial where he takes the tape against the tub of water and slaps it up? Yeah, like, hey, here's the product, Balin Spector.
I'm Billy Mays for Balin Spector. He's the greatest hole plugger you can find right now, and he's familiar with the system. You have a leak in your basement, Balin Spector will fix it. Can't stop the run? Balin Spector.
One of our regulars, Timmy, texted, and this is what you said yesterday, how is AJ Klein next? I'd like to say that's a joke, but I can't.
Wait, when you asked me, because I hadn't heard, and when you asked me, the Bills brought back somebody, they brought back a linebacker. I'm like, AJ Klein? I thought he was retired. No, you're close. Oh, Balin Spector. Okay. Look, I always liked Balin Spector. I liked him at Clemson. He couldn't stay healthy, but when he did get on the field, I'm like, okay. I think there was one game where he was just way off. But always thought for, his size and what he brought to the table, that looks like he looks like a linebacker in the NFL. It looks like an NFL linebacker. But couldn't stay healthy, including this year at training camp, which led to his release.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's surprising, that they put him on waived injured, which with a 90-man roster, Danger, you didn't need to do that. You could have just kept him on the roster and, all right, when it gets to week 1, are we releasing you or are we putting you on waived injured at that point, or are we putting you on IR? And when they made that move with 3.5 weeks to go in camp, I'm thinking, all right, they've moved on from the guy.
I just forgot that they brought back Gabe Davis, too. There's another one that we haven't even mentioned yet today. Oh, yeah, that's right. They brought back Gabe Davis, too. They just love themselves some guys they're familiar with. They love themselves some guys that are familiar with their systems. 31 other teams had the opportunity to get that guy, Balin Spector, and 31 teams did not. The Bills did, and he's back on the practice squad.
Same thing with Gabe Davis.
Correct.
Same thing with Jordan Poyer.
Yes.
I mean, if it ends up in a championship and you're bringing back guys that had a part in building the foundation here, great. But I think there's other problems we can all kind of acknowledge. And why this is a bigger deal for me this week is, you're facing this team with arguably the best running back in the NFL in the Atlanta Falcons. The Bills are 4-point favorites. Bijan Robinson, Danger, he's going to get his yards. I just can't figure out the Falcons because you look at this team on paper, you think, oh boy, the Bills are going to get clocked here. And then wait a second, the Falcons lost 38-0 to Carolina. How does that happen? So Atlanta, they're the mystery team where we see this team on paper. We know them.
Don't know what they are.
Well, yeah, we don't know anything about them.
Yeah, we don't know what they are. I think that defense is feisty, although they did give up what they gave up to Carolina. I think that offense can be just ridiculous, but they got blanked by Carolina. That's the one that's the head scratcher. What exactly happened in that game against Carolina that you couldn't get a point? So that's coming up on Monday, and we'll continue our coverage of Bills and Falcons. Elena Getzenberg, ESPN, stopping by the sports bar tomorrow afternoon to share her thoughts on the Bills' loss to New England on Sunday night and a look ahead to Monday night.
You think Joe Flacco's like, I got to go to Cincinnati. Got to do this.
The Browns.
The Browns
just doing Browns-like things. A 5th-round pick for Joe Flacco. Little pick swap. and he goes to the Bengals. I mean, it's now 3 out of 4 teams in the AFC North for Joe Flacco. Why not just complete the trifecta and start next season for the Steelers? I'll have the Steelers start 41-year-old quarterbacks in consecutive seasons.
So we're close to the worst fear I would have for Browns fans, meaning, all right, Dylan Gabriel did some nice things. You didn't win the game. He's going back. It's a short week. You're traveling across the globe. This isn't going to be good. At some point, Shador in his camp, they're going to demand for a start. Do they turn to another guy in the practice squad named Bailey Zappi? He's still there. What happens when Deshaun Watson comes off a PUP? I swear we're in the scary movie season horror flick. Every horror flick is the same, right? Oh yay, the villain's dead. Yay! Oh my gosh, they're back.
Yeah,
that's exactly this quarterback.
This was your bold prediction. I think it might come to fruition.
It is going to come to fruition. That we're going to get December, and that dopey owner is going to be like, paying all this money to this guy, that wasn't so bad. We have this draft capital. Why don't we give this another try?
So great.
Oh no, don't do that. No.
All right, T-Men's hockey coach Matt Thomas is going to join us here for last call before we close up shop at 6. Before we get to Coach Thomas, let's get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, it sounds like a lineup change for the Yankees tonight. We'll tell you the chatter out of the Bronx. Shame on LeBron James. You thirsty. Maybe you heard Maggie and Perloff talking about this morning. I'm thinking, no, don't trust this guy. Don't fall into his trap. We'll just tell you about what it was, and then we'll kind of move on from there. The latest on Mark Sanchez as well.
All right, we got that and more next. A round of shots next on The Fan.
You're listening
had a trade today in the NFL. A quarterback, Joe Flacco, goes from Cleveland to Cincinnati. This for a pick swap of 5th and 6th rounders. The Bills tinkering with the practice squad. They bring back a linebacker in Balin Spector. Also bring in a practice squad corner in Jalen Kimber. To baseball, Aaron Boone has faith in a starting pitcher.
Yeah, a ton. He's been obviously one of our horses this year. He's had a great year, and anytime we give him the ball, we feel like we have an excellent chance to win, and that'll be the same today. He'll be ready to roll and hopefully get us off to a good start.
Carlos Rodon getting them start tonight. The Yankees and Jays at 8:08. Toronto can advance with a win. They're up 2-0. Detroit and Seattle. That series is tied at 1. Game 3 yet to start. In Detroit, they are in a rain delay. Gene Battaglia, sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Happy Hour continues on The Fan. It's time for a round of shots in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Yeah, so it sounds like Paul Goldschmidt's going to be going in tonight over Ben Rice. The question is, do they put him at the top of the lineup to lead off here? Rice, he's never faced tonight's starter Shane Bieber. Goldschmidt 3 for 6, but the telling stat, Danger, is this. Bieber is a righty. Righties this year are batting .297 against the Toronto starter. Lefties only .156, which... that's really weird. Usually it's the opposite. Sure. 8:08 first pitch tonight on FS1. And with the Detroit-Seattle game, if they get that underway, I have no idea what Fox's plan is going to be.
FS8, the Ocho.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
The Fan, Rochester.
Well, that's a good question. Fox Business Channel? Tune over to Fox Business Channel, and I don't know.
Because I would like to see Detroit and Seattle. I want to see...
You might have two games happening simultaneously, right?
Do they put it picture-in-picture? I don't think Yankee fans would be too happy with that.
I don't think you can do that.
Leave it to LeBron James posting the cryptic message last night, having everyone guess, what is this about? Is he Shame on anyone who fell for this. Shame on you.
No, this is the LeBron, the decision part 2 or what?
Yeah. No, it wasn't a retirement announcement. This was a dumb reenactment of Decision 1 with Jim Gray from the summer of 2010.
Yeah, let's relive that horrible decision.
Yeah, this was, in the words of Ralphie in A Christmas Story, a crummy commercial.
A crummy commercial?
Son of a...
Do we even know what it was for? I'm completely oblivious.
It was for some liquor company, which I'm not even going to name.
All right, don't give them the satisfaction.
Give backlash to that.
Don't give him the satisfaction, but whatever you do, make sure you respect him.
Listen, you can love me, and I know some of you hate me as well. But the one thing you will always do is respect me and appreciate the way I approach the game and what I've given to this game. Thank you.
Weird, thirsty, corny LeBron. Just not into it.
I mean, he's just a big South Park fan. Respect my authority.
Yeah, you will respect me. You will respect me. Okay. Who's disrespecting you? At worst, the second best basketball player of all time. Who's disrespecting you? I don't get it. I don't get it. He's just a weirdo.
This is too bad. We've retired the Jerky's Boys bit here. No. Danger.
But I lost my glasses.
Mark Sanchez hurt me. I'll do the dramatic.
Okay, go ahead.
Mark Sanchez hurt me. I'm suing Mark Sanchez. I'm suing Fox. I'm suing the New York Jets.
Everybody.
I'm suing USC. I'm suing Peyton Manning. I'm suing the Steakhouse. I'm suing everyone.
Yeah.
Well, look, they're not suing Mo, but indeed, the alleged victim has filed a lawsuit against Sanchez. And you called this yesterday.
Yeah.
Filed it against Fox,
Yep.
seeking unspecified damages. This according to Max Lewis of Fox 59 in Indianapolis.
I don't like that I've spent enough time in my career around lawyers that at times I think like a lawyer, but I knew Fox wasn't saying anything about this because they couldn't say anything about this. They're partially to blame for Sanchez being in Indianapolis and doing what he did. He was there on their dime. He was there to work, and they didn't keep him under control.
So, again, this is way over my head. But let's say they knew Sanchez had a problem. Is the employer liable if they knew? Because there's no reason that Sanchez acted this way unless he was under some sort of influence.
Yeah,
right?
that I don't know. I think you have to, if you, the way the rules are now, you can't really probe. Like if you're an executive at Fox, and Mark Sanchez is acting funny, you can't pull him aside and be like, "Hey, man, you high? What's up?"
Yeah,
you can't do that. You can't even do that. Like if you see somebody who's sick, you can't offer them the help that they need without them being the ones to say, "I need help." So you would need Mark Sanchez to tell a Fox employee, "Hey, I'm messed up. I'm addicted to the bottle or whatever I'm addicted to. I'm messed up and I need help." Then Fox can give him all the help he needs and give him the time he needs. But until you get that from the employee, they can't really jar him. You know, they need him to be the one to say, "I'm sick. I need help." So this is a case of everybody getting sued. Everybody's going to sue everybody.
Chances are you didn't watch the UFL, but the league is going to come back for a third season with some relocations. So cities that are out, Detroit.
Oh, wait, they had the nice uniforms, right? Weren't they that like maroon and silver?
Memphis,
yeah,
San Antonio, in Orlando, Louisville, and Columbus.
Okay.
This is from the statement from the league. All three of the new venues are soccer stadiums with capacities at about 20,000 or smaller.
Correct.
So this is where I invite you, the gentle Rochester listener, to write your own punchline to this.
Oh, boy. Where's our team?
If we only had what would we do? Like, say if we had a stadium like that, what would we do? What would we do if we had a soccer stadium? And
I think I just saw something cross my feed literally this afternoon about the soccer stadium needing repairs because it's...
Brian Sharp had a report from XXI because I know. Well, there's no repair, and here's the thing: it's an outdoor venue, and like they had luxury boxes, except there's water damage now, mold, and all that fun stuff that
happens when you don't take care of your property. Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Do we knock it down? What do you do with that moving forward?
Oh man, what do we like? Just doomed from the start. Just doomed, a project doomed from the start.
How does this look 25 years from now? Like life after people. Like this is where we had this USL team. It was really great, and we also had this,
we need a hero. We need a hero to say, you know what? If what did we say? If Louisville and Columbus can get a UFL team, we in Rochester have a venue. We deserve a UFL team.
I don't think we would support a UFL team. Can I just say that?
I guarantee you we would not support a UFL team.
You and I went out there when you had the West New York Flash, and this was Martha, and this was all these stars.
Yes. When the U.S. women's national team was here for a game, I remember all the stars were out, and there were not people there.
Yeah.
Just doomed from the start. You didn't build a stadium with locker rooms. What did you think was going to happen? What were you going to use this for if you didn't finish the job? You didn't finish the stadium. Nobody wants to come to a stadium and play in a stadium where your locker rooms are a trailer in the parking lot. Come on, guys. And now, oh, well, there's leaks. It's dilapidated and there's mold. Yeah, what did you think was going to happen? Who's taking care of it? Anybody from the city? Anybody? Who owns it now? Is it the city?
It's a city.
Yeah. So anybody in the city going to take advantage? Anybody from the city gonna actually take pride and try to make that place salvageable?
It wasn't too long ago that you would have the Section 5 finals. This is going back like 10 years ago. And okay, the Section 5 is like, no, we're okay. We're going to do it at our home schools. Thank you very much. We're good.
What a disaster. All right, yeah, well, good for those markets, good for Orlando, Louisville, and Columbus all getting, and good for the UFL, by the way, smart. Like, let's at least make sure this looks okay on TV. When you're playing in a football stadium, it doesn't look okay.
They have one franchise that's doing really well. It's St. Louis.
Yep.
And they're drawing. People still want to say, hey, we're a football town. That's great. Everywhere else, they really has yet to catch on.
That's right.
Finally, they're scoreless midway through the first, Florida and Chicago. The NHL on ESPN, you're getting home, you want to put it on as you're waiting for the Yankee game to start. Danger, I can tell you one guy that is not going to be watching.
And the Blackhawks return to the ice Tuesday, NHL opening night against the defending champion Florida Panthers at 5 Eastern, 4 Central on ESPN. Triple header that night. Penguins, Rangers, Avalanche, Kings. Ben, I know you got an opinion on this. Panthers three-peat this year. What do you think?
If you say so. I mean, good luck to them. Are you asking me if I'm going to be watching?
No, no, you'll be watching, of course, because you work for ESPN. You'll be watching.
There is zero chance I'll be watching. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Where will you be?
I will be somewhere, but there's zero chance I'll be watching.
All right, thanks, Ben. We'll be watching. Thanks for the rating boost.
I think that is so bad on so many levels. Is he still employed by ESPN? Did they fire him yet? Because they should have. They should have fired him the second he landed from that game.
He falls into the category of, I'm just going to make my voice different, and you're going to, like, if that's your only card and you're trying to crack jokes.
Here's the thing, like, I'm sure he's a great dude. I'd love to hang out with Ben McDonald, have a beer, talk sports. I'm sure he's great, but at his job, he's terrible. That's terrible. That's malpractice. You need to lose your job just for that.
I love the play-by-play guy. He's giving him not one but two
No,
lifelines.
he gave him every opportunity.
You've got plans, right?
You understand we're doing a promo. You can fake it a little bit here. This is a performance. We're performing right now. We're adding something to the broadcast, and we're doing something that our employer wants us to do in promoting this product. Can you play it up a little bit? No, not at all. You're fired. If I never heard from Ben McDonald on a Major League Baseball broadcast again, I'd be fine. He should be calling baseball. He should be doing color for baseball games in the MAC on ESPN Plus moving forward.
That take was so bad. Take of the year. I'm nominating that. Take of the year.
All right, very good. We'll add it to the list.
Chicago now leading 1-0.
Yeah, surprising. Speaking of hockey, RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas making a visit into the sports bar as the Tigers get ready for their opening series against
1-1
against Sacred Heart. That's coming up this weekend. RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas next on The Fan.
Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Your RIT Tigers are home this weekend. A series against Sacred Heart on deck. New look Tigers. New face behind the bench for the Tigers.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. We welcome in Matt Thomas to the program. Matt, appreciate the time here. Tigers home Friday and Saturday. And for folks who may not be familiar with you, you have a lot on your resume. You're an RIT grad. You were coaching the Providence Bruins as an assistant. You get the job, so bring us up to speed. Like, since that point, how much of a whirlwind has this been? Have you caught your breath? Matt, appreciate the time. How are you this afternoon?
Yeah, not bad, guys. Thanks for having me on. To say I've caught my breath, I don't know if I can say I have, but the good news is I'm breathing, and it might be heavy right now, but we got a lot going on. We're super excited and just really fired up to get this thing going.
Yeah, and just stepping in, and you're trying to get new faces and all the new rules that are happening in college hockey. And Matt, we have a guy on our staff. His name's Dan. He's a huge Ottawa Senators fan. And when I saw the release, I'm like, wait a second. The Tigers have Ben Roger? Like, you've brought in some talent. Like, can you give us a little bit of a behind the scenes, how quickly all that came together?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually a lot of credit goes to the previous staff. Obviously, David Salacco's still on staff. But Wayne Wilson and Brian Hills, when they changed the rule last November that we could recruit CHL players, and for the listeners and people that don't know, those at 16 years old, you had to make a decision. Yeah. Are you going to be the NCAA route, or are you going to go the kind of the quote unquote pro route with the major junior? And if you went, you lost your NCAA eligibility, even though you didn't sign a professional contract. So it was kind of this class action lawsuit where the NCAA's always been getting hit with a lot of them, and they were like, we're kind of penalizing these kids before they've even got there just because they might get there. And a long time coming probably, but they opens it up, and right away recruiting shifted. What we would normally do in terms of the North American Hockey League, which we got the Rochester Junior Americans in town, the USHL, the BCHL, the Ontario Junior Hockey League, were kind of, hotbed leagues that we recruited in a lot. The Alberta Junior Leagues, all these provincial leagues in Ontario. We went right to the major junior levels, and that's where you get a guy like Ben Rogers, a second rounder to the Ottawa Senators. He was kind of in that COVID draft, which kind of saw a lot of guys kind of get their development stall, and it had a little bit of an effect on their long-term development or short-term development. And when you're a draft pick, your development is short-term. You better be ready to go. You better be Erasmus Dahlin and not a guy that's going to take 4 or 5 years. So all of this has done is created a runway for these guys. Now these players that are really elite players but maybe need a couple more years, which previous rules they weren't afforded, now they have the NCAA route. So we're fortunate to get players like that. The old staff did a great job grabbing a bunch of them. We grabbed a few with my staff when we came on, and we're really excited about the way the team looks. Now the real bullets start flying here on Friday, so we can't wait to see where we do stand within our group.
Yeah, it's Sacred Heart first in the preseason poll. RIT picked 8th. I don't give a damn about the preseason poll because who knows? It's hard for people to evaluate all these rosters. Heck, I don't even know what you have in your roster, Matt. So but the idea that you're facing Sacred Heart coming right out of the gate here, how do you evaluate this? Obviously, you want to win both these games, but what is the expectation this weekend?
Yeah, honestly, the expectation for us is, are we doing the things that we know are going to give us success? So the result obviously matters, but we're not sitting here focusing solely on that because, quite frankly, we don't know. Like, this is the preseason number 1. We're preseason number 8. I wish we were preseason number 10. That way, if we did anything better than last, we were, it'd be considered probably a successful year. But for us, all it's done is put a chip on our shoulder. And I've lived my entire life with a chip on my shoulder, and I like that our team has it. We're certainly not happy where we are. We know what RIT hockey is about, the expectation. the history of our program and how much success we have had. And we don't like where people are putting us, so our job is to go out there and change people's minds and, more importantly, prove to people that they picked us in the wrong spot.
Matt, I've talked to a lot of people that watched you play. Are they going to take on your personality? Are we going to see a more physical, chippy Tigers team this season?
I'll tell you what, I didn't love the way I played. I hope not. I hope we make a few more plays. I hope we got a little bit of Steve Toll and guys that I played with that were National Player of the Year back in those days. Jerry Galway. I hope they take on Josh Mitchell's game a little bit more, where they can set the all-time assist record in the program. He tells me that every time he sees me. He reminds me that he's got that record. But in all seriousness, I want our team to be super competitive. I believe, regardless of how you're built, how you're wired, there's a puck out there and we need to own it. So when we have it, I don't want to give it away. I maybe did that a little too much, trying to, force plays. I want to possess it, and then we want to play with a ton of pace. I loved the speed of, my game back in the day. That was kind of my thing. I felt I could play fast and play physical and just get to work. I want us to have those traits, but I really want us to play connected together and play with a high level of execution that's going to allow us just to make it really tough for teams to get the puck off of us. So I think always a combination. And, I remember reading back in the day, the team takes on the personality of their head coach, right? And I hope our guys have a little bit better control of their emotion than me. I hope they have some of my fire for sure, but I wanted to be kind of put in the right channels here and have it. But we've got a great mix. We have those guys that, if we need a little bit of juice, I could throw them over the boards. They're going to make a difference. If we need to calm it down a little bit and play with a little more poise, we have guys that can do that. So I like the way our group is situated. Now we just got to get us playing connected.
Yeah, Matt, we're excited to see how this all looks. Of course, a great preseason win there, an exhibition win over Western, 7:05 against Sacred Hearts Friday, 5:05, the puck drop on Saturday. Matt, appreciate the time. Go get them, and we'll see you Friday night.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. There he is. RIT men's hockey coach Matt Thomas joining us for a few minutes here during Last Call on the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Fun afternoon, and if you missed any of it, we encourage you to check out our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. You can go back and watch any part of the show you may have missed. The Odyssey app is your home online for The Fan Rochester, and with Rewind, you can go back and listen to any part that you may have missed. If you're a podcast listener, find us wherever you get your shows, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Matt Perino joined us earlier from the Syracuse Post-Standard to give us his thoughts on the Buffalo Bills as they head into Week 6 and a matchup against the Atlanta Falcons coming up on Monday night. Tomorrow in the Sports Bar.
Yeah, we'll have Elena Gatzenberg from ESPN and also our PJ Glasser, your host, to send it in, giving us some win.
JR Sport Brief next. Have a great night. Thanks for listening. The Fan Rochester.